But allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Right, as we always do, we'll call the meeting to order. We have our open forum first. We'll take any comments or concerns from the membership.
Mary, I have a comment I'd like to make real quick.
Okay,
I know most of you aren't aware, but we came up with a variance report monthly. It was our first month out. I'm really excited about it because it shows whether we're ahead or behind per department, for what we budgeted. And I think it's gonna be a great tool for us coming forward in the future as a board to be on top of our finances. So I'm rather excited about it. And I want to say thank you to Ronnie and Ian and the finance team for getting that developed for us. I think it's gonna be a good idea. So, thank you, guys.
we have any comments online?
Not showing anything in the chat.
Okay, we can move forward with the roll call, right?
Brian Deutschel. Here. Justin Blusen.
Here.
Ed Hecklick excused.
He's trying to come online, just so you're aware.
Okay.
All right.
Sherm Hubbard.
Here.
Jeff Lucados.
Jeff is online.
Jeff is online. Okay. Larry Mossbaugh.
Here.
Grant Penner here. Scott Parenteau.
Here.
Ryan Ruel.
Here.
Okay, we have quorum at 7.
And Ed is now online as well.
Okay.
Thank you. We have no amendments to the agenda, correct?
Nothing.
We have the meetings from our last session. We have a motion to approve.
I'll move, Justin.
Second.
Before you vote on that, Ryan, I've got one correction. Third page reports, the president report. That should be Larry, not me. That'd be 11C.
By way of a little feedback, I like the kind of bullet to the point format for the minutes as opposed to more verbiage.
I'm sorry.
I like the format of the minutes.
Yeah.
They're more concise and I like the bullet points.
Good. Any other comments? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay. Abstain. We move on to old business. First line item we have is the prior month's action. I told you we would develop a matrix that shows all the comments we take through the open forum and throughout the board meetings that come up. So we have a tracking mechanism to actually come back to the membership with the open date it was brought up, who's assigned to it as an owner, and the closure date, and then the comments for status purposes. Going down through these briefly, just to kind of update everybody on line item number 3, for example, the member satisfaction survey. Brian's the owner on that, and he's gonna report out on that today. So we'll get an update. The line item number 4, the 4 boxers for P&L data. Ronnie and finance and audit are still working on solidifying that, so we have the accurate data within the 4 boxes. The bylaw language for social membership, Justin is reporting out on that today, so we'll get an update. The Spectrum standby power for the internet, Jimmy, you're gonna speak to that today as well, right?
I'm still in discussions with them, yeah, I haven't got a solution yet.
The need to build membership expertise spreadsheet. There's like 4 items on here that really tie to the same one, but we're gonna involve the newsletter and promotions to help us try to gain some more populate that matrix of the expertise we have here as members to help out with the team. What is the status of our members' concerns brought up at the that's the column on this sheet we wanted for a status, so I've added the column there, you can see to the right. Who will count ballots for the social membership, we've asked, Mr. and Mrs. Romance, and they've accepted. So we'll update this as a closure date. We need to understand closure date of the elevator project, we're gonna get an update, but bottom line is, they found a couple issues, and they're gonna come back out and do the final inspection this Friday, is the schedule right now. So hopefully this Friday we'll be all set with the elevator. Number 14, the credit card budgetary plan for the 40,000 we have in the budget for the 3% on the credit card. Ian's gonna update us on that today. The next two are the repeats I talked about with the need for volunteers with expertise. And then the treasurer report should demonstrate how we're attempting to increase membership going forward. Ronnie has that one. So far, there'll be nothing added to here from the open forum today because there was nothing, but I'll continue to take notes throughout the meeting. And if there's anything else we need to add, we will. And we'll come back with this document every month at our meeting. Moving forward to, any comments on that, by the way? Like it, don't like it, need anything added to it?
I think it's great.
Okay, good. All right, moving on to social membership with Justin.
So I want to thank the membership that attended the third session and for the emails that we received so far since our first live session as well. That's been recorded. Everything's kind of been pushed out once already. There were some additional feedback items. It's up on the screen right now. And it's because this is our final day. We have to finalize the ballot language and the margins that we're gonna offer within the proposal. So trying to consolidate those. The first was, do we open Badger Lake only for fishing? So we can tick these off one at a time, in my opinion, so. Board, what do you think?
Personally, I feel that, I thought that was a great suggestion that came from the membership, and it doesn't add additional people going into the woods. And apparently I didn't know this, I learned that last week or last month, that that's the only public lake we have out of the 5, the rest of them are private lakes, so makes sense to me, from my viewpoint. What does everybody else think?
I would agree, and if somebody wants to bring their grandkids in and fish, it's, certainly encouraged, and I don't see the downside in it really.
And this one particularly, Larry, I'm opposed to this. I think relative to, I think we gotta be just real careful in general with this. As this has grown and evolved over time, in my opinion, we're starting to get too close to the activities a full member can do on it. And I just think we're at the line on it, because we're getting to the point where, other than ATV, hunting in the woods and fishing on the back lakes, the social member can do everything a full member can do. And I'm concerned about that.
I mean, to me, when I started down this path, it was to create a paying experience for underutilized assets. And that's my thoughts too. So,
What's your thought, Chairman? I didn't understand.
well, when, we proposed the social membership, it was to be to generate some revenue for our underutilized assets on things that we weren't doing. They're not paying to go fish on Badger Lake. I mean, and we talked about not getting buttons, not doing different things, then it opens up to a hunting and fishing button that's required for a daily guest pass. So it's gonna create some more thought process there. And I think the membership wants to think about what we're doing, but obviously protecting the woods, protecting people heading out and around. But my feeling, it's not a paid program for us, and therefore I probably wouldn't be in favor of opening it. My thoughts.
Anybody else on the board?
Ed or Jeff? Yeah, mine.
Guys, this is Ed. I personally think it's a good idea. I mean, I agree, it might create a bit of confusion. But I think we can work through that. I just, I think I'm kind of with Scott where if somebody wants to bring their grandkids or whatever, it's not gonna hurt us at all. And, you know, I personally like to fish, so I think it would be a good thing. That's all I got on it.
Jeff, any comments?
Jeff commented online, he doesn't have a speaker up, and he said, I think it would be a good thing to open it up.
Okay, I would make a motion that we add Badger Lake only for fishing.
There's no question.
Oh. Yes, sir.
I do have a concern because it almost seems like unless you're a hunter, why join the club? I mean, they're gonna be able to do everything other than hunt in the woods. I'd be kind of hurting ourselves. Unless you're a hunter, what's the point of being a full member?
You got it.
Right now, state of Michigan owns the fish that swim in that lake or Badger Lake due to the fact that we have an egress that goes outside the property. Due to that fact, anybody with a state of Michigan license, my son-in-law, not a member, but he can come in here and fish if he has a license. That's always been that way.
I think at that particular one, Mitch, he would have to come up the creek to get into the lake. That does not give a person the right to trespass to get to it.
That's correct, but if somebody is a guest of a member and has a valid state license,
Yeah, if they're a guest, they can, by definition, they get a guest pass. But this is for the social member though, which currently
yeah,
doesn't.
you can't just drive in off the road and fish our lake, but my son-in-law, as long as he has a valid
Yeah,
license.
and he's your guest, yes.
So,
Now on, wetland tax, are they gonna end up having to pay wetland tax?
Wildland, you mean?
Wow, yeah,
They're not property owners, Bill, so.
well, you give them the right to go out on this lake and go fishing. I mean, I'm not agreeing to any of this. I'm not. Either people are gonna wanna be members or they're not. And to be a social member, you're getting a lot of stuff for real cheap. They should pay way more than a regular member if they just wanna pick and choose what they get. I mean, they're gonna get to golf, skeet and trap, all these, the best parts of the club. They're gonna be at.
But our assets are so underutilized, Bill, on almost.
I don't care what they are, either be a real member or don't be one, all right?
Well, and
You know, a social member, I mean, it's like giving them an in and not having to pay no tax. Heck, it's getting so close now, I can go hunting and fishing somewhere else and just be a social member. I mean, I get to still golf, I get to go shoot, skeet and trap, I go to the range. The only thing I can't do is go hunting here and that's better hunting off the club anymore. I go to other states, I go to wherever. So, I mean, you gotta be real careful what you're doing because these people are gonna come in here, they're gonna fish this lake. And then they're gonna start sneaking out to other lakes or doing whatever.
well,
Until they get caught and then something will happen. But, they might already got it made up in their mind that they really don't wanna be here anyways. So that's when shit starts going south with a lot of people.
and to clarify, they aren't getting it cheaper. They are paying. more.
Well, they should be paying twice. So
They're,
that'd make them wanna be a regular member or not. I mean, I can see that there's a lot of parts of the club that are underutilized. But that's good for the regular members too, because the regular members can start using it a lot more. Say, hey, man, we're underutilized and skeet and trap, let's start another league. Or let's do something. But, just to put this out there like we are is gonna cause problems down the road big time.
Well, I don't think that we're trying to, I think we're trying to do something for the, you know, membership as far as We've lost a lot of revenue, we lost a lot of members.
I understand
We're,
that.
we're trying to say,
And that's
We
when
wanna
we have to
try,
make a
like-
decision to either up our dues or do something like this, and I don't know, this might be the worst of two evils.
well, I think the other parts of the membership that we put in terms of, we're capping it at 100 to start with, it's a 5-year pilot. We can try it, and if it doesn't work, and those concerns.
Well,
that-
I
that
mean,
people are
down
worried
state,
about-
they've done it on a lot of these, yacht clubs and a lot of, and they're getting rid of them. Because they found out it's a lot better to have people renting boats.
But I can tell you
Have
from the
them in
feedback
there.
I've gotten
Yeah.
from members that have other memberships elsewhere, they've said this is a great idea because of their experience at other locations where they were dealing with a bleeding membership. So,
Yeah.
you know, I know for me, I understand the concern. I also feel like we gotta try, this is where I'm at, we gotta try something.
Right.
And then in 5 years, if we don't.
Well,
feel
what do
like
we
it's
do at
going,
the end of the 5 years when it ain't doing? We got all these people are social memberships, and now what do we grandfather them in or
No,
say we
no,
just
they're
don't?
not grandfathered in. The
They
program,
Yeah, so I
program
mean,
would come back to the membership to decide if they want to renew it and continue it, adjust it, change it, throw it out.
yeah, I mean,
That's
that's
within the language of
because
the
this is
proposal.
pretty much down the path that we're gonna go, is we're gonna have these social memberships, but I don't agree with it. I mean, it's a cheaper way to help the club, but is it really gonna actually help or is it gonna hurt? Because now we got all these extra people in here that are utilizing some parts of the club. But they're utilizing the best parts of the club, not the parts of the club, you know, it's just.
No, we, at one time, we had over 1,300 members here, we're down to 850. We have approximately,
Well, a lot of that is
Well,
because the
but-
hunters went out. I mean, and when they did,
well, I'm just saying the membership is
Yeah.
declining. We have approximately 400 members that spend over their dues and their regular amount in here. And we have a number that is very substantial that don't spend anything but their dues in here. And you know, when you look at this and say we gotta spread the cost of 400 people that actually use this club and say, you know,
I hear
here's your user fees. Here's everything else. The guys that are supporting it are getting the hell charged out of them to support the club. And this board's trying to look for ways to take care of this.
We need to move on to some other questions we have.
First of all, show them that's called the price of doing business.
Right, it's fine.
That's number one. Number two is how are these people gonna be held accountable for their actions? I mean, somebody messes up, as my guess comes back on me. A social member, okay, you only got two things. You got background check and financial. That's the only thing that you have. If they break a rule, who is accountable for that?
They would go through the same disciplinary process as anyone. And one of the things we talked about is there is a more significant deterrence. Because they don't have the property, it's very easy for the board to separate from that member. It's much easier than a full member.
Who is accountable for when that social member breaks the rules?
They are.
That person
The
is.
social member.
Will they come in front of the board?
Correct.
Correct.
And can probably be kicked out
Correct.
Correct.
with no refund.
Very easily.
With no refund.
we don't know how that goes.
Go ahead.
Again, I just want, my concern is, tell me why, unless you hunt, why would you become a full member? I mean, that's the only thing that you're not letting them do, so
Property
unless you're a
ownership.
hunter.
You cannot be a property owner at all in the club and be a social member,
Right,
at all. You
okay,
can't reside, so you can't be a long-term renter, you can't have any access to property in the club and be a social member. This is designed to bring people from outside of here to be a social member. So the individuals that are sitting, you know, the ones that are saying, well, I'm a member right now, but why not become a social member? First off, it's highlighted that you can't transfer from being a member to a social member for 5 years.
For 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is the pilot program.
Right, but I
And-
thought, you just said 5 years, but I thought this pilot program was only gonna go 4 years.
Initially, when the language started, it started in 23, so they said 5 years because that would be year end of 28. So essentially, the pilot program is designed to end in 2028.
Okay.
Year
And
end
then
of
how
20.
are they, how are we gonna know, are you going to update the membership yearly, quarterly, on how this program is going? What's the plan
Sure.
to
Yeah, there'll
update
be-
the membership?
Sure, I think that would be a part of our reporting out relative to the membership totals.
It'll show up on the treasurer's
Yeah,
report.
I just have to say, I guess as a hunter, I'm very on the fence on this.
And
Well,
Lydia, also, in addition to, if a hunter, you'd be a full member, you also don't have access for snowmobiling, you don't have access for ATV, you don't have access for your mountain bikes. You know, you don't have access to all of that as well, which we have a fair amount of members here that unfortunately, past couple winter, well, 2 winters ago wasn't, but past couple winters, we haven't had the great snow for snowmobiling. We have a fair amount that joined because they want to snowmobile. We have a fair amount that joined because they want to use their dirt bikes or ATVs. They are deterred, you know, they cannot utilize that as well. So there are those aspects.
But then that goes back to who's gonna police it?
Right.
We already know we have people going out there. Who polices the members? I'm sorry.
Well,
Bad performance. Right, I agree. Then we don't do anything anyway. And look, we're not talking a ton of people, right? I mean, you know, but the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if it's 10 people. Who's really gonna police it? I mean, you have to count on the members to do the right thing. We already don't. We already have members that don't do the right thing. You just said that. So it's unfortunate that.
Well, it turns into, our hands are tied as a board unless we receive a formal written complaint. It can't be, well, I saw Sherb over here and he was doing this and, you know, he was a bad guy and he, whatever. It turns into, somebody has to file a report, so the board legally has a process to do something. You know, if you can't walk up and say, I saw this guy doing that over here and not file a report and say, how come you guys didn't do anything? I mean, that's on us. It's a thing called integrity. When you see somebody doing something wrong and, well, you know, I like Bill and he was doing something wrong, so I'm not gonna say anything. We'll say something to him, and if it persists, file a complaint. So we can do something.
I would think that, you know, Justin's done a really fine job of holding these questions and answering series where all the members can come in and ask more questions and discuss it further. But I'm not sure that we want to go too far at this meeting, continuing to talk about this. We gotta decide whether, as a board, that we want to move forward, right? And then you have more sessions coming up this weekend, okay?
Yes, Tuesday before Darts
Yeah.
is the next one, and then
And there's a vote, so,
The
Easter weekend.
Yeah.
And then there's also one evening Zoom only one, I think next Thursday.
Next Thursday, yeah.
Correct,
And you made a motion to add the Badger Lake, right?
correct.
I'll second it. So we have a second, so we can move this process along.
okay?
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Liz?
Yeah, I've had my hand up, sorry. I was gonna say some of what these people said, but I was also gonna say, have you checked the insurance liability exposure for members versus non-members?
They will be members.
Remember,
Proud of, members.
Social members,
Or member.
you check the insurance policy and that exposure is not gonna increase the premiums.
No. It's a Class B membership, pretty much.
Well, it's different, but, okay,
It still falls under the thing.
that's okay.
With this fishing, I love to fish too, but when you combine the buttons, hunting and fishing button, I quit fishing. As a spouse and a senior of a person that owns a state of Michigan fishing license, I can fish off of his license for a much lesser fee, but now I'm paying for a button for hunting and fishing. I quit doing that. So here, when you tell a social member that they have to acquire a button, that's a hunting and fishing button. There's no separation. Are they gonna be required to have a day pass? Who's gonna monitor that? We don't monitor the kids fishing at the fish pond, that they even have a sticker to go down there and fish for free or whatever the case is anymore. I don't even know what that is anymore. Like I said, when I stopped fishing, I stopped even thinking about that. But there has to be a point in which it benefits a person to be a member here rather than just a social member. So when you start talking about allowing them access to this, you need to have a plan on how you're gonna execute that. When you've already disenfranchised your members, by requiring them to pay for a combination button that they will not
Have
use.
we thought of that?
Officially, the thought was that they weren't gonna do any fishing at all, but essentially, if you would have to decide how you would want them. One way or the other, they would either need a button, that would be a Badger Lake fishing only button, which is not what I would recommend. Cause then you're trying to police the difference between one button and another, becomes very difficult. I would assume they would need to get a fishing pass, which would be a sticker to allow them to fish the lake. All our members have to pay to fish here.
Yep.
So,
Not have that, you're like,
Yes, you do.
yes, you do.
You have to have a button. Or get a day pass.
something changed, but.
No, you have to have a button or get a day pass.
Can-
And you have to
Can we add an amendment to the motion to say that the person has to, buy a season, a fishing button?
have one.
We currently don't have a standalone fishing button. So that would be again, another change. We have a fishing pass. But I think the recommendation could easily be requiring them to get a 2-day fishing bath on the lake when they want to fish,
There we go.
creating revenue to the lake.
But I would like to have a fishing button that is less than what a.
But that is separate from this discussion.
Right.
Your fishing button
Yeah.
have to do with the social membership.
Yeah,
We're trying to solve the social membership issue.
Because you can also look at changing the rules to allow a member to fish on, a full member to fish on Badger Lake. So that's outside of this program. If we find that it's favoring or unfavorable to a full member, the rules can be adjusted to correct that for the full membership. So there's that option as well that we can look at, or the board can look at.
What I'm saying is if you allow them, if you develop a fishing button for them for a price, then you're disenfranchising me as a member by requiring me to have a fishing and hunting button to do that.
Not if we let you fish Badger Lake for free.
You know,
Yeah,
there's-
benefits to the members.
All right.
Yes, sir.
How does the social membership work? I mean, with our current membership, one spouse has a vote. So when I become a social member, is it that individual, one person is the member?
Gets 1/100th.
Right, no, I understand they only get one, but that one individual social membership, so is his wife a guest? Or his kids, his guest?
His family would have the same privileges underneath our membership. So anybody,
The immediate family rule applies.
immediate family rule applies to their membership,
But they can bring in guests.
Right.
which they are responsible for, no different than our current members are responsible.
And that's what I'm saying, and that one person, like he says, is the person that is the go-to, the responsible individual when you talk about accountability.
And their vote is only 1/100 for the directors. They don't vote on anything else in here. As far as their vote goes. And, the big reason is looking at people in the surrounding community that have hunting property and go different places that aren't looking for a place to hunt, but wanna come here and use some of our underutilized amenities.
Well, and the reality is that there are a lot more places to go fish around here outside of Lost Lake Woods than there are hunting. So, I don't think you're gonna find somebody's gonna come here for the greatest bass fishing in the world but I think it's just a matter of convenience. If they're coming to the club, it gives them another reason to come to the club and spend money. Is what we're hoping to see.
I think that we need
they should be
to,
allowed to fish Badger Lake, but they have to purchase a fishing pass.
And it should be daily only,
Yeah.
just.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That guarantees more revenue.
the key thing is we need to, the timing of this program, getting it out for the peak season coming, if we really want to intend on gaining more revenue from social membership, we need to get through this document and decide what we want to do on each one of these, so that we can move that timing up. Correct, Justin? So, if it's gonna cause a lot of issues with the membership as far as the button thing and having to go deeper now to create some new process for someone to be able to fish out here on this lake, I think I'm gonna go back and kind of retract my statement and say, I don't know that having that lake being able to be fished by a social member or not is gonna detour or help the program.
Exactly.
So I think I would say we really need to move on, at least from my perspective. Because I don't think that's gonna be a
Well, we have a motion we need to vote on, right?
Well, we have your amendment, Ed, and then we have the main motion. So Ed, you move to amend the motion to require the social membership to purchase a fishing day pass. Is there a
Yeah.
second on Ed's amendment, or do you retract your amendment?
I'd second it. No.
Scott seconds.
Okay.
You want to call for the vote?
let's call for the vote on
You should do a roll
that,
call.
the amended, pardon me?
Should do a roll call vote first.
Ed, as maker of the motion, do you call for, or are you, do
I
you
made the
accept the
original
roll?
motion.
What's that?
I made it.
It's his amendment still. Well, yeah, you're still the main motion, so. All right, Justin calls for a roll. Sorry. Justin,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Sherm,
No.
Jeff.
Jeff was having some issues.
He said, yeah, click on mute, it doesn't, he said yes, sorry, he's not able to.
Larry,
I'm gonna say no.
myself. Yes. Scott
Yes.
and Ronnie.
No,
Brian might like to vote too.
Let's see, so we have,
Brian.
Brian,
what?
I'd let Brian have a chance to say something.
Sorry, Brian. How did I skip over you?
It's okay. I would know.
Oh, Jesus, sorry. So 1, 2.
Now, I don't think that pass 5, not 5-4. I don't think
5,
that passes because you have to have 2/3, right?
Correct,
that
that's the
fails.
bylaw change, so this is
Okay.
a no.
That's fine. Moving on.
So now we have your main vote.
What's that?
Was the-
Yeah,
Um,
moving on.
so Justin, now we have the main
Oh,
vote.
that was just
of-
on the amendment?
That was on the amendment to allow them to, or to require them to purchase. Now you have the main vote of, are we gonna let them fish, period?
Is that one in the bylaw? You were voting on the amendment to a motion, not to the bylaw change itself, so 5-4 should pass
Okay, then there, it's on it. Now we're voting on the actual,
the bylaw.
okay.
Sorry, just trying to be clear.
So Justin moved and Sherm seconded the main motion of fishing. Do you want to do a roll call on this one as well?
We should.
All right. Brian,
No.
Justin,
Hey, guy. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. What are we voting on right now?
to allow them to fish, period.
No, we said the amendment.
The amendment passed.
So we're allowing them to fish as amended.
No, to get a day pass.
So
That was the
Right.
amendment.
clarification. The vote passed for the amendment requiring them to have to purchase a day pass. Now we're back to the main motion, allowing social memberships to fish with the amendment now that they are required to purchase a day pass. So that is the motion summarized. Justin,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Sherm,
No.
Jeff,
Yes.
Larry,
No.
myself, no. Scott,
Yes,
Ronnie.
No.
Yes.
Uh, Four yeses. The vote fails.
All right,
Does that mean they still get to fish as a guest or a full member then? Because that's what we heard.
yeah, if they were,
Yeah.
yeah.
With a guest, with a day pass, they can
Yeah.
still fish.
If
early.
the full member wants to sponsor them, I mean, it's no different.
Okay, the next part was just about the social members using the clubhouse on holidays and special event weekends. Now, looking at the actual language, and I thought that was the intent, that they would be on a wait list pending to a window before those special events and holidays. Doesn't really,
I thought the original language said they could not use it during that time.
it just says lodge and in parentheses, non-holiday and non-event weekends with preference given to full members on waiting list. And I thought it was that second part implied that full members have priority access to a point, so it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks out, we release the rooms to anybody.
I think if that covers that, we're good.
Well, that's how I interpret it, but if it's not clear enough, then
I
I think
agree with that interpretation too. I agree with you.
that is
I
what
think
it
it's
means.
covered. Yeah.
Does anyone disagree with that?
I think the only thing you may wanna put in there, just put in there somewhere correctly in the text, if available, just to make it a little bit more clear. But I do agree with your interpretation of it, that they are enabled, but they are after all members, full members have had their opportunity.
Correct. And again, I thought that was always when we were compassing that part, so. Next one was about suggestions been made or brought up a few times about should we remove the horse barn access for rides? I said, I don't think that's not that, I didn't support it.
I've heard several complaints from the membership that the woods are near and dear to the core membership and they don't want other people in the woods. And in order to do that, you would have to go in the woods. And once they get in there, the membership was concerned that who knows what they're gonna do once they're in the woods at the horse barn. So. And for me personally, I think that's kind of like the fishing thing. I don't think the horse riders are gonna be a make or break if someone's gonna wanna join as a social member. I don't think people are gonna come join a social membership just to get ride a horse.
The same could be said for the pheasant hunts though, and we're allowing them to do that.
Well, Ed, I escort them out for the pheasant hunts already. We come here, we have breakfast and everybody is escorted out to the pheasant preserve. So we're already following in a line and they're not turned loose to say, hey, go drive here.
but didn't the horse barn access include?
Not right.
Or horse?
Yes. Within the program, they have the ability to board a horse on a weekly or monthly basis.
So we're gonna have to get out to the stable.
We already have a guest horse.
Hmm?
We already have a guest horse.
Yeah, but I mean, that means if you have my horse boarded out there, I gotta go, it's not just for pony rides, it's.
No, this
You're
is
going
saying-
Constantly do back and forth, have access, yeah, for something, remember.
Justin, for clarification on this, this is saying, should we remove them having access at all? Correct? Or is
I
this?
guess other than they can go as a guest of a full member for a
Correct, but-
ride or something,
so-
and then there was a guest
To answer,
boarding already.
removing access to boarding or riding from the social.
But again,
Revenues
part of-
bring and lose potentially.
but again, part of putting this in here is we've got the horse barn from a ridership standpoint, from a ride standpoint is significantly underwater. If this was to get more riders available, to do it out there to help that amenity get closer to break even if possible.
There's an option that we could introduce a vehicle pass to the stables and they have to come and get that before they go out there. So at least there is a control point. And the pass has to be returned when they're done.
I had a conversation with our company that provided the gate or provided the security setup at the front gate. The individual I talked to discussed potentially when we do we've talked about an electronic gate at the main woods gate, allowing the social members through, but there's an ability to place a camera at that corner that would flag when the individual goes through the main gate. It is able to actually track the car, and if it doesn't make the turn, it would notify either myself or Ian right away that we had someone pass when they weren't supposed to. So there's additional security measures that we can put in place that we've been looking at. The same thing can apply to a guest. So a guest might have to have a PIN code that they punch in to allow them access to that area. And if they drive past that intersection, they would then be flagged. And we would be able to track it through. It's something that we have, even without a social membership, we have the issue with guests. So I think in a lot of these questions, they're trying to solve current guest issues with social membership.
Is your intent to have a different color vehicle pass for a social member? So that you can spot their vehicle from any other member?
Well, if they only had a PIN access and it was a set PIN access to get to the stables, that system would instantly be able to tell that that was a PIN access for the stables and then track it based off of that.
We're talking about technology we don't have or won't have.
Yeah, I was just thinking
Let's move
more
on.
simple approach.
Well, I guess,
It was-
to move this one on, I'll make a motion to retain access to the horse barns for the program.
I'll second.
And the comment I'll make is, Jimmy, those are all good technology solutions, but let's not kid ourselves. This may generate 50 to 150 rides. That best case scenario, that is nowhere near justification to put a $20,000 or $30,000 gate.
No.
The
Yeah,
$20,000 or
it's a little-
$30,000 gate justification came from this board as a recommendation for me to look at to restrict
That's
access.
not-
I'm just,
We're
I'm
bogging
making,
down on
I'm making a
something
comment relative to this
Let's
is.
get the motion.
and
Let's
support.
just stay focused on the motion.
Yeah, but you have motion
Move
support,
on.
let's move on.
We got a long meeting.
If there's concern about having social members out in the woods, I assume that the rides are at set time schedules.
Yep.
Okay, why couldn't the members gather up here that wanna go on a ride? Somebody from the barn comes up here, escorts them out.
There really isn't enough people at the barn to be. I mean,
They're getting the horses ready.
My
Yeah.
concern is that
Yeah.
beyond the horse barn is the woods.
Well, if they had a colored
So-
pass, specifically that this is for the horse, that's blue. It's a sheet of paper, blue,
on your dash.
on your dash. And if they're anywhere else and they got that blue piece of paper, a member would know that and could report them.
Right.
I understand that the woods are near and dear to all of us. But right now, we have zero control on who goes into the woods. So maybe if this social passes and we make some money off of it, we can implement some of the changes like the gate and this and that, the other thing. But whether we have social members or not, we have no idea who's in our woods.
Okay. So can we go back to the motion then?
And Brian, your motion was to retain the access.
Yes.
Retain the
Term
access, we got
seconded,
some
seconded.
Yep.
motions on the floor, do you call the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Both?
Jeff and I don't know.
Jeff Locado voted yes on that.
Ed, I didn't hear you.
So the question was about, the next one.
I'm a yes.
Oh, sorry. Escort only to the Pheasant Preserve, Sherman, sounds like you already do that.
Yeah.
Okay. The social membership program length from 3 years versus 5 years.
I'll make a motion to maintain it at 5.
I support.
I support,
I should say sunsetted in 2028.
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this is to retain 5 years?
Yes.
Well, that's to retain the end of the program in 2028.
Yes.
So end of program is 2028.
end of 2028.
Yes.
And who made the motion?
Brian,
Ronnie second.
Background checks, it was brought up in, the live presentation that, they do the background checks, but we don't have a director interview. I shared here that I don't oppose their interview. I think the more important thing is an orientation meeting that should happen. And so that was the suggestion.
Justin,
Yes.
so I would support a director interview, just because I do a lot of them for new members. And I think having that one-on-one conversation, where if you have an orientation, there's more than one person, it's really going through the rules. You know, really letting them, spelling out what happens if they violate anything. But I think it's a good time. I always supply myself as a resource, that if they have any questions, call me. But I think you can dive in deep. Why are they doing it? I always, always ask the questions, why Lost Lake Woods? What amenities do you want to use? The question could be, what would attract you to being a full member? So I would support having a director interview.
I would make that motion then, or?
I would make a motion to have a director interview.
Ronnie, would you accept I don't want to do an add-on, I don't want to do two votes. Would you accept modifying your motion to make it a director interview / orientation? We just
Yes.
do those two at the same time.
I would accept that.
I'd support that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
That was good, thank you.
Ed and Jeff?
Jeff said aye.
Aye.
All right. So we'll, those would be the changes that were approved. Other language that didn't need to change, we can make that change, and we'll come back to it, I guess, on the ballot. The ballot farther down, or
Yes, it is.
okay. Or is it part of the vote here?
Part of the bar.
Oh, okay, very bar. Oh. There we go. Come back to it.
Okay, so we'll move on to the lodge rejuvenation with Ian. Oh,
Ian asked if I could talk. So we are, we had our first, elevator inspection. A number of things marked that needed to be changed, namely, currently, because all of the main power comes into the building routes through our generator, so the entire building is on generator power. The elevator was not designed, and by code is not supposed to be ran on generator power. When it goes into emergency, it should go to the first floor and doors open. They have to add a contact in there that allows it to do that, so that is one of the main items that they need to correct. Based off my understanding with our contractor and the inspector, that is being rescheduled to be inspected again next Friday. So if all goes well with those last few item tests, we should have a functioning elevator as of Friday afternoon.
good.
You mean next Friday?
Next Friday.
And there's
It's
no.
Saturday, so
All right, well,
yeah.
I'm just asking a question.
Next
I mean,
Friday.
You know, you said Friday. There's no associated cost to us
No,
for,
the additional inspection is not gonna be on us.
and the repairs or the changes are not on us.
No,
Okay.
it was all part of what was required.
Next item is, Brian's been working on an association bylaw review update for us. There's more tweaks we need to make to it, and he's done a good job with it, but we're gonna have a work study on it and set it at the board. And then we'll bring it forward. The next item is.
Yeah, and Larry, I'm sorry, I thought the lodge rejuvenation was gonna take a little longer.
Oh, it's okay.
On it. Yeah, that one, we're still gonna try to do our best to keep the timeline, because the goal at the end is to get into that director's ballot and not have to pay the cost of a
Yep.
separate mailing.
Yep,
I guess I do have a couple of updates on the rental project, if we wanna touch base on that, cause that is part of the review.
Go ahead.
The lintels should arrive Thursday. They will start beginning the shoring and temporary wall work in the lure. They're gonna begin on the lure side and work their way this way. So that way the club can complete some of their anticipated projects for our dining spaces ahead of Memorial Weekend. Their target completion date is prior to Memorial Day.
And, Jimmy, with the temperatures being up and staying above freezing now and then, are we gonna be able to avoid the cost of the tenting and that was in the original bid?
I would need to follow up with them on that. I would assume if they're not having to use that extra temperature control that we would, but I will follow up to make sure we keep track of that, so that additional information and whatnot is not put in place, that we're not incurring that cost.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, move forward, Ian, with the credit card processing fee.
Yes, if you recall, when we had a discussion on this, we were, at the last meeting, we were going to continue to do the research on what we are able to do and what we aren't able to do. The laws and the requirements of the processing companies and the credit card companies themselves are very complex, and we've been working through it to be sure that the club is protected and not making a decision that's going to put the club at risk of losing the ability to either take credit cards at all, or to violate one of the rules or regulations and risk any fines or anything else. Jim is going to go through a summary of some of the complexities of this, so I can have Jimmy go through that, and then we can talk further about some options.
There are 3 separate types of merchant credit card fees that you can charge, or merchant card fees you can charge. They are a convenience fee, a service fee, and a surcharge fee. I will go through and define all of them and then explain some of the key differences and how they would work with the club. Convenience fee is a fee added to the cost of a purchase for the privilege or convenience used on a credit card. It is passed on to the customer as an alternative payment channel. So this would be if you only allow cash check or member charge at a point of sale, but as a convenience, you offered online credit card payments. That would be where you could charge a convenience fee. It's separate to a normal transaction. A credit card reader at a point of sale cannot be charged a convenience fee because it's determined to be a normal payment method. These are fixed amounts. They're not based on a percentage of the sale. So it would be for a convenience fee to use a credit card online, you could charge $3. It would be a fixed amount. It wouldn't be, if you had a $500, you couldn't charge 3% of a $500 sale. It would be, no matter what the amount was, you would have to charge that. Additionally, with it being an alternative payment method, any form of payment you took in that alternative payment method would have to be assessed that fee. So if you ran a debit card, a credit card, an ACH payment through that alternative processing venue, they would all occur the same fee.
I mean, that's not what we planned on in the budget.
No, I'm trying.
Well, I mean, this is like no use to us. I mean,
It is, because you have to understand what is allowable to us and what's
Okay.
not. These fees must be, I covered those. Can it be charged to those paying in person? And it's not required, a convenience fee is not required to be printed on a receipt. A service fee, this is one that doesn't apply to us. We're not educational or government. Those are only applicable to them. They can charge that to any payment they receive. Surcharge guidelines. So a surcharge fee is an additional fee added onto a transaction that helps offset the cost of a credit card processing fee. The fees are capped by the vendor, somewhere between approximately 1% and 4%. Within current policies, Visa limits to 3%. All of the other vendors don't allow you to charge more than what you're charging any other vendor. So we would be limited to a 3% fee, no more, no less.
Is that what we planned on in the budgeting process?
Originally, yes.
Okay. I'm just asking questions so we know where we're at.
It can't be applied to debit cards or prepaid cards. So if you have a prepaid credit card, the fee cannot be applied to that. It does not get applied to ACHs. And it requires, in order to enact this, it requires a 30-day notice to card issuers in writing. I've labeled some of the options that the club currently has available to them to try to recoup these processing fees. So we could, within our current system and setup, we could charge a 3% surcharge on member payments and lodging. These would all go through our ETS system through processing with Avalon. That covers approximately 60% of our credit card sales. Additionally, you could offer, to only accept as a normal form of payment, cash, check, or member charge at point of sale. I.e. this would be like your food and beverage areas, golf, and other amenities that you would pay directly at the point of sale.
There would be no credit card option.
There would be no credit card option. So if you went into the dining room and you wanted to pay by credit card, it would not be available at the point of sale. You could, as a convenience, offer an online credit card payments with a convenience fee.
Approximately how many credit card transactions do we process a year?
When we went through that with the budget, we processed about $1.4 million worth of.
I wanna know how many transactions,
I don't have the number directly.
because it looks like if we do 15,000 transactions, we'd be better off charging $3 to get us $45,000.
Right, but I wanna say in total, card processing that we had go through Avalon was somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 total transactions for the year. That included your debit cards and your ACH
No,
payments.
yeah.
And again, with
so
a
that-
convenience fee, you would recoup some of your costs on your debit cards and on your
both?
ACH payments through online. We could do both.
Do a $3 and a surcharge, and it would probably
sur-
put us close to the $40,000 in the budget.
I would only do it about 24,000 if you'd had 8,000 transactions.
Well, but you had the 3% fee, Larry, the surcharge.
I'd like to know, what are we recommending we do to hit the prescribed budget we signed up to? That we currently are about a month late? What is the recommended plan? What are you saying?
We would need to look at doing both of these options. You would need to include the 3% surcharge on the member payment side that we can't do through our current processor. And then the club would need to essentially remove credit card payments as an option at point of sale and create an online portal to pay.
And what is that? What am I understanding on an online portal?
So there wouldn't be, you wouldn't walk up to a cash register and stick your card in. You'd have to log in online and make the payment on there, and that's an additional convenience.
So you'd have to go to like lostlakewoods.com
It'd be like, yeah,
and pay the bill.
Yeah.
So
Pay your
Jim,
statement.
so Jimmy, if we drive people to pay to use cash and checks, we're also gonna save money on the fees. So-
correct.
So we may not get the revenue on the revenue side, but we could cut down on expenses, so it could be a wash. So I think, Larry, when we look at this, we have to look at both sides. Because if we reduce our expenses, it's gonna balance out if we don't get the 40,000 in revenue. So I think we're gonna have to look at both options, because I like this, but, I like the fact that, if they're using the dining room, it's gonna drive them either pay cash or check, which is gonna reduce our expenses, or
charge
put it
them.
on their bill, which if they pay it online,
The-
you're gonna get the 3%.
The big difference between us and a regular other establishment is we offer a credit option to our membership to charge to us. We give them 30 days credit already. That you don't go into another place and say, oh, hey, I want to buy these and walk out the door and, unless you sign some paperwork that agrees to make split payments, you're either paying directly there with a credit card, a debit card, cash, or check. Here, the credit card's not necessarily available because our membership who's coming in has the option to charge to their account and pay later. of which they could pay with a credit card online.
Jimmy, I think this was great information because even in the banking world, we never saw it this way. So it helps explain why some places can do different things. So I
There's
think
a
it's really
huge-
valuable.
You know, Ian shared that, PDF,
White paper.
effective executive summary. There's so much detail in there. The credit card vendors really have a control over what you can and cannot apply because it has such a negative effect to their business. So current laws allow them to really set out the guidelines for what you can do. And again, they are very specific in what you can do to each individual card, but also that you can't apply something to them that you're not applying to the others. They're all specific across that.
So Jimmy, just so I kind of understand all this. We would be taking the credit card away from point of sale. What would happen with our guests?
That would be where the online payment ability would come into play. So we would need to
So-
have a way for them to, whether it's on your mobile phone, you know, if I want to make a payment online on something, I can go on my mobile phone, put my card in, pay my bill.
Okay, so
At the convenience that you would be offering outside of your normal tender.
if my guests wanted to get a sweatshirt out of the gift shop, they would have to go on their phone and pay, and then
If they-
show
yeah.
Donna, hey, I paid for the sweatshirt. And
Yeah,
check
we
out.
need to directly work with ClubSoft on how that ties back into our accounting system. Again, this is a new option, so it's gonna take some upfront.
And that would be that
Implementation.
$3 charge.
That would be, yeah, you would set a set amount. It would be a
Um,
fixed fee for using that.
And anticipate going that route, do we anticipate it deterring anyone from purchasing because they have to go through that extra hassle or?
Yep.
It's quite possible,
Yeah,
but
and
Depends if they got
our biggest
those.
exposure is the golf course. I think we ran about $130,000 in credit card sales through the golf course point of sale last year.
Okay.
That's gonna be our biggest, certainly my biggest area of concern right now is how is that gonna impact?
And if we implement it at one spot, we have to implement it throughout the entire club, or can we implement it at one amenity?
I believe
it's at an individual.
amenity, so we could just do the golf course on its own, leave it up there as a point of sale.
Because that's what I'm thinking is the gift shop, or if a guest wants to pay for their food and they have to go, you know, do X, Y, and Z.
Those are our only places with point of sale. You
Right.
Covered the 3 places that we're talking about implementing.
Seems
I mean-
clunky. It seems like that's gonna be the online piece. Am I
I
missing
agree
something?
putting it at the golf course, and having to pay ahead. You know, in that regard, but for food and beverage, lodging, gift shop, I just see it being. a detractor.
Lodging goes through our ETS system, so that would occur the regular 3% surcharge.
Okay,
That is capable.
so it's
Point of sale is our dining room, the lure,
food and beverage,
food,
or,
food and
sorry,
beverage operations and golf, all go through our point of sale system.
and gift shop, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and, food trailer.
The other thing that if we choose to keep the point of sale available at the outlets, the other thing is to require a minimum spend to use a card so that the transaction, like if someone had just bought some candy for $3, we can get charged, $2 transaction fee or whatever the number is. So if you say the minimum spend has to be $10 for a credit card,
I'd be fine with that.
then that way those transaction fees will be minimized.
It's a percent plus a fixed amount is how our processing fees are, so it's anywhere from 25 to 50 cents per transaction plus a percentage of the sale. But if you're only getting a $2 sale and you just paid 50 cents for that transaction, that's a huge percentage of the sale.
Right.
Once you go up to like $10 as a minimum card usage, then the 50 cents is spread a lot further across.
Well, what if we kept this really simple and we did the 3% surcharge and everything that goes through the website on it, our dues and whatever gets charged to our accounts, leave everything else point of sale. Run that this year and then that'll get us 60% of what we were thinking we were gonna get on it. And then over the next year, work out some of these alternatives in it, because I think if we try to find a 100% solution, Larry, I think we're gonna end up with no solution.
Yeah, that's becoming quite apparent.
Um,
It's just kind of disappointing that we figuring this out now. That's what's kind of
No, I
disappointing to me.
I agree, I agree.
There's a company that's advertising on the radio, at least in the Detroit area lately, about, an alternate, processing system that's based on basically two price tiers, you know, cash and a credit card price, as
Yeah.
opposed to surcharges.
The problem that we have, and this is where our issue began, is that surcharges are capable. The issue relies upon our software that the club uses is Club Central, and they only work with Avalon right now.
But if you had two prices that you punched into the at point of sale, you'd have to ask the guy up front, are you paying by credit card or cash or member?
Legally, I think we would have to notify them, and then you would still need to look into this. and make
Notify
sure
who?
You need to notify the customer that there is a price difference.
Well, yeah,
And that, well, cash discounts are available. We could increase all our point of sale.
every gas station is advertising two prices now.
Right.
I have a question. So if we were to do what Brian just suggested, which I'm in favor of, is just stick with the 3% surcharge, covers 60% of our credit card sales, and move forward. Does the membership know we're gonna do that?
That they will be notified before they finalize.
So we will send a letter to all the members.
Well, yes, sorry, yeah, but the system will notify the member that they're gonna be charged.
Yeah, that, when it's happening.
Yeah.
Right, but I would like to kind of give them a heads up before they get surprised when
Yeah.
the bill hits.
So Larry, or Ian, could we say if you're a member, you have to use cash, check, or member charge, but if it's a guest, just run it through the POS system? If it's someone who's, if someone's a guest and they go in the gift shop and they wanna buy something, could we differentiate, or is that?
I think that'd be more work on.
Well, let's stay with, if we agree with what Brian's recommending, then a letter needs to go out saying that we will be introducing this charge for all online payments. And then we'll encourage our members to use the cheapest sources like ACH or check or cash, to reduce the cost of the club. And then.
Yeah, we would ask them in that letter, we would prefer that you would use cash option.
Yeah, if you wanna avoid this,
Yeah.
pay your club bill, you could either do it by check,
Right.
or you could do it by ACH and avoid this fee.
I think it's a happy medium.
And the thing is, if you use it to avoid the fee, like Ronnie said, you're not incurring the fee on the expense side, so while you may not have the positive on the revenue side, you're not gonna have the negative on the expense side.
Right.
So we need to be very careful in wording online payments because it's actually all member payments. If they come to the front desk and pay with their credit card that runs through our ETS system,
Mhm.
that will be incurring a 3% charge.
Right.
So.
It's
whether
not
they-
where they do it, it's how they do it.
Correct.
So Ian, it also says debit card, so if someone uses their debit card, you can't charge them 3%.
No,
That's a big.
That's what.
It would only be for credit. card. So debit cards run a lower processing fee though, it's
1%,
only 1%
25
plus.
cents.
25.
So maybe as a happy medium, we do the 3% and the online $3 thing for the golf course. And call it good. I think that'd be the happy medium in between.
No, what?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
What did you say?
So we have the 3% that sounds like we're all in favor for. And as far as the golf course for point of sale, we have the online portal with a $3 charge.
No, I think that's gonna be clunky.
Yeah.
The online portal, 'cause I don't even know what we're talking about there, to be honest. That's gonna be clunky, right?
We could
Fair to
look
say?
at, we could look at increasing all our pricing at our point of
No,
sale.
I'm asking a question. The online portal would be clunky,
Yeah, it's not.
period, okay, and there. 3%, that's what was already planned, right, the 3%?
Yeah.
This was, so in other words, you don't need a motion right now, but we just need an understanding
These were the other options
that,
being given.
that we're doing this, but it's only impacting 60% of our credit card sales, where we budgeted for 100% of our credit card sales. But, and we're gonna continue to look at the other options. Right. And then my only other follow-up was on the minimum spend you mentioned, isn't that something you could do as management now? Just put a sign and say minimums, and would that solve some of the,
It
Transaction
will reduce the losses on the cheaper sales.
and I would be supportive of that, what's the number you think would be appropriate there, $5?
At least 5, possibly even 10. Push towards 10. I
Most
think
places
10
it's
would
10 now.
Do you want the board to motion and support on that, or do you just want us to?
Can you do that on your own?
Well, again, I feel that the board needs to support it, so,
Okay. I
Probably
would
make
motion,
something in writing.
I would motion to, for management to determine a minimum spend for point of sale using a credit card. That would, that's an appropriate motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Opposed?
Larry, I think we'll need to have a follow-up here, and I don't know if it's staff or finance and audit, but based upon what we agreed to here today, I think we need to run the 3% plus the minimum surcharge thing and give us a calculation on where that sits relative to the $40,000 number that we had
Yeah.
plugged into the
Well,
budget.
the letter's not even going out until it goes through finance and audit. We already talked about that.
When do we think this is gonna be implemented?
April 1st is the goal.
We're still good with that?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
then we move on to member communications with Ryan.
So real quick, as we're working through, communication group, that was established in January. And timeline, unfortunately, it being pushed back, me being out of the state, for a few weeks. There is a document that will be, that was circulated through the board, got feedback, and through this month, I will be working with each of the standing committees in that, to kind of go over how to implement them in, and then next month, kind of bring a kind of update follow-up. So I guess this is my notification to the different committees, and I will try to sit down with all of them, if not, due to work, as some of them meet during the week and I am at work, I'd be looking to, either, I guess, offline time or, what have you, to meet with them.
So Ryan, I've got some questions. So, and I don't know if we have this resolved. So my concern is everyone just posting stuff. So you have a committee member putting something on Facebook. How is it gonna get communicated to those who aren't on Facebook? So originally we talked about
Yep.
it going to Ian's, I think your admin, and maybe the admin could post it on Facebook as well as send it to the other means of communication. My concern is, one committee member may post it on Facebook, not send it in, and now you've got a small group of people that aren't gonna see anything. So what is gonna be the process to ensure that everyone gets the same message? Because we talked about constant contact, that it should go through constant contact, go through that. So if a committee member posts it, what's gonna ensure that everyone receives the same communication?
Yeah, so that's that, committee document that I sent out to everyone, and in there it says, I think it's on the second page or whatever, that anything that they would be posting, they are required to still do what they're already doing, is sending that to Ian and Jim.
Do we want anything reviewed before it gets posted to ensure it meets the standards that we have?
That's my concern.
I mean, just to
All
make kinds sure
of
that people,
interpretation.
that people aren't just posting stuff, that we have some control in place. So if you're just allowing, because right now we have admins, so there's only so many people that can post on
Correct, they
some
would,
things.
the committees would be moderators, so they can submit. But it would still fall to us as the board management, as administrators, to edit or post.
But do you want it to be, I don't know, Scott, I mean, you and I kind of talked, same concerns about, having the right stuff posted.
Correct. So how it is set up is committees would be moderators, their post would go on.
Is it every committee member?
No, they would have a assigned person. In the document, it says they have an assigned person that is the only person of that committee to post. And any post that goes through, it has to be approved by an administrator to be posted.
Okay, so it has to be approved before it shows up.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, so how it's set up is the general membership doesn't have the ability to post anything, because it's meant to be just information only, and only coming from official sources. In order to do that, there is a middle tier called moderator.
Yeah.
They can post, but all posts have to be reviewed before they're approved.
so who's gonna be the admin?
It would be all of us on the board,
Mhm.
including Ian as your management. So you have your management team, as well as your board. And obviously, every year that would rotate out.
Mhm.
But that's,
So what's the process for timely approval then? Some committee member at midnight goes in and puts in a post and it's waiting for approval. How do we know it's there and what's the pecking order for people to approve it? It's just a free for all, whoever gets to
I
it,
thought the only one that could post was the chairman of that committee,
or the designated.
or the
the
designated person.
designated person is the only one to post. Obviously, if they post at midnight, it's no different than Ian getting in at 7 AM.
But I mean, so you come in the morning, there's a post that needs to get approved. Who's gonna approve it? Just the first person that reads it or?
Well, didn't you just say the board, the liaison?
Well, but there's 9 of us, so one of the 9.
Your house and beach. Your house and beach,
Well, he
so
doesn't
your
use
chairman
Facebook,
posts something.
so it would then fall to Ian or myself or Larry or whoever.
Well, I guess we just need to establish a pecking order.
And
Right now, it just sounds like.
we can easily do that. I would think it would default to your president or management, depending
Well, I
on.
would think Larry's got plenty to do. I would think that it would make sense.
Larry, I hope you're on Facebook.
Good process.
I'm trying to help you here.
I mean, if you want, then it'll default to Ian.
Well, I'd
Or-
like you to start with the liaison.
Right.
And then,
If it's
and
not
then
the
maybe
liaison, then it can.
the general manager, or maybe
Call the
let's do the
general-
general manager first and then liaison.
Leave it up to me, God only knows what we'll post.
And Sherman is excluded altogether.
He won't be proving any of them.
And is this something the admin could do? Yeah.
We've been discussing creating a club admin Facebook page, so that way our employees are no longer having to use their personal pages to post things.
So would they post on this one, like the menus and stuff, or how would it tie in?
Correct. So with that, it was already put in. Amy would have the ability to put the weekly specials, the menu, the hour, well, the hours would technically fall to you, but any event, menu special or weekly event or whatever, she would have the ability to post it there.
Now, let's come back to your question. I don't think that we would want to empower the admin to approve the post.
Okay.
Because of the content, we gotta be sure that it's.
Well, I was gonna say, I know you've got a lot on your
Accurate.
plate, so
Yeah.
to give you some assistance and Jimmy some assistance, who in the office could, because you're right.
It has to be validated to be sure that it is doable, practical, legal,
Yeah.
and not in violation of the rules.
And then we clearly said that we've got multiple means of communicating that we need to service. So I've got this one announcement, it goes into the Facebook page as the first step. Who is responsible to send it out in email or post it in the
You are
newsletter?
still responsible, as you always have been, to send it through. This is an addition, this is not changing. So you have a posted you have information that you want to get out. How are you doing it currently? You call Ian or you email him, correct?
No, I just posted on that. I was just posting it.
He does, so that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Do that.
We just added steps.
So Ian, let me ask you this, hopefully this doesn't take
I
up
just
time.
want to avoid it having showing up on Facebook and nobody hears about it on email.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at, Scott. And we had talked about this. If you go through constant contact first, it comes to you, you approve it, you're in the loop either way.
Right.
So either way, no matter how we do this, you're in it. If it comes to you on it, you can go into constant contact. Out of constant contact, you can directly push to our Facebook page and do the email directly, correct?
Not directly.
Okay, I misunderstood then. Okay,
well,
thank you.
But what we can do, is we set up an admin Facebook. We can run it up through there, through the link on Constant Contact. Because because we're a private group in Constant Contact and we control that membership base, it will not allow us to post directly to Facebook.
Okay.
Um,
I was just thinking if we could use the tool that we got, Constant Contact, and use that to push it out to the email, Facebook, text, whatever we want to do, that seems to be, it would be the efficient path, but it doesn't sound like we can quite do that.
no, I mean, we've got it down to Jimmy now is actually running them through his own personal Facebook, which is not ideal, but it's almost instantaneous. As soon as
As soon as I blast it out, I click share and I've been installing it at the bottom. I share it with the group, so it posts to that page, so. When it would go forward, even if we created a club admin Facebook page or Facebook, I would just log into that one through my email and send it along.
So here's the other thing, talking about vetting these posts and everything. We're not doing that currently on members only, in a sense. We can post on members only. Now, we can, go in and ask the person to retract it, but we don't have that already on members only. We're now creating a vetting process. So I guess the frustration of are the posts going to be accurate or not? The posts that are going out right now, that your trail sports posts on there, hey, we have this work bee or whatever going on. Management, you're not currently making sure that that's worded correctly and accurate correctly on members only or on,
No.
so while you may not think this new layer is perfect, it actually is going to make more efficient and streamlined. So
Is this our Facebook page we're talking about, Lost Lake Woods Pub proper, or are we creating a whole nother new page?
this has already been created. So we can change the name of it.
So we're
It's
creating a new
it's
page.
New group, not page, group.
Okay, thank you.
The idea and intent that came from the membership in 2023 asking was with our members only, which when the board created it, was meant to be only an open forum. It was not meant for information driven. It was meant to be an open forum to discuss different things going on. What this will do is pull all the information only out of members only, have one place to go. It will no longer require someone to go into members only, copy that post, and then post it in the non-official groups that we have no control over, which is the 2 open topics and 3 other Lost Lake groups that have been created, which there's still more popping up. It will be one spot only, and you don't have to go to your 5, 6 different groups to find information. You have one group to go to find the information. It's the official information, it's vetted information, it's I don't know how to put it more bluntly, but it eliminates a lot of frustration that the members have.
Is there a possibility or way, because I've heard members also say, oh my God, they're making another Facebook page. That's the last thing they want. Can you tailor the Lost Lake Woods members only page that we currently have to what you want, so that we aren't making people go to another page. Because originally, when the members only came up, I thought it was for information. It wasn't supposed to be people going out there and venting, like kind of what's happening. It was supposed to be about information, what's going on in the club, like what you're saying.
So my understanding on the original creation of that, back in, I think it was 14 or 15 when we created it, it was meant to be a forum.
Oh, see, I misunderstood that, because I remember when you guys created it, and my understanding was meant to be information.
That's what I was hoping it would have been, but no, it was meant to be a open discussion forum.
You clarified for me, your new tool that you're using, it's locked down so that the public won't be chiming in.
Correct, it's
Right.
completely private.
A one-way communication, it's your official page,
Yep,
right? So the others are actually forums, and so it's purely for one-way communication.
correct. There will not be commenting on it. You still have to apply to, just like our members only, you have to apply to
To view,
join it. There'll still be the same questions in there. Are you a member? You know, we'll look at the roster. I mean, it's not hard to pull up the Lost Lake roster and go, yep, Don Ross, she's a member. Okay, approved. So it's all the same protection that we already have on the members only. That same security will shift over. We'll add extra in the sense of the posts will all have to be vetted now instead of right now, members only. Anyone can post whatever they want. And yes, it's one,
That's what I was asking. So who, you're gonna vet them before they can be posted. So if I as a member wanna post something, it's gonna go to you?
no.
You're not allowed. to
So-
post, right?
There will not be. Let me clarify.
Yep,
You would be a general member because you, well,
I'm a viewer.
technically, since you're on House and Beach, if you're the one that's assigned,
Well,
that's different, but as a
Run-of-the-mill member.
run-of-the-mill member is view only. They have no ability to post,
You need to make
comment.
sure they understand
anything.
that You all are gonna do the content for those people who want to contribute content.
Correct.
But it is not an open forum, there won't be this back and forth, you're gonna have one place where I can go see the menus, the events, the posting. the
Yes,
promotion.
Correct.
I wanna make sure everybody really understands that, because it's different than using Facebook the way we currently.
Yep,
Correct.
Okay.
strictly information sharing.
So I've got a question because I've never belonged to a group like that. So if Dawn goes on that site,
Mhm.
is it gonna have a place she can put comments and then we just don't post it, or does she not have a comment?
Comments are turned off.
So I mean, so she can't, or postings. So typically you go to a site and it says you post.
Yeah.
Will they be able to still see like post something?
She can't do anything other than view.
So it'd be kind of like what restaurants do today, right? They post their menu
Correct.
and specials and
Correct.
whatnot.
Won't be any comments, won't be anything. It'll be just
Right.
viewing information.
So, Brian, just asking, so with our membership page, if we wanted to change that, could you not just employ additional controls and let everybody know it's gonna be one way only? And go to open topics if you wanna make some.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of members on there.
We could, yes, but I will not be the one to do it because I don't want to be hanging from the buck pole, because if we shut off commenting
On members.
on members only and do this one-way communication, I know I will be skin gutted and hanging from that buck pole by Sunday.
And Ryan,
Because there's already 2 other open forums, so. I mean,
Correct, and those are unofficial, and anything that gets posted there, it's not at all. We have to be very clear, anything pertaining to the club that's posted to open topics, because it is not being posted directly by
Right.
your administration, that any information there by default is inaccurate. It can be copy and pasted, but it's still not a official thing. So people have to understand, still, there's only currently owned by Lost Lake, there is one group and 2 pages. One is the regular advertisement page that we have, and the other one is the Jim Dennis Golf Shop page. Pages are public, they're meant to drive revenue. Group is private, it's internal, that's what it's meant to be. So all these other open topics and everything else of groups that exist,
There are other groups.
it's your choice if you want to join them. I have a ton of groups that I'm part of. but it has nothing to do, even though it says Lost Lake, it has nothing to do with Lost Lake.
So when you move forward this, I think it would be important to make sure you clarify the difference between the membership that you currently have and your new one, because I don't think people are gonna really understand.
Oh, yeah. Again, when we go to launch this, there will be, if we go back to the timeline, when we go to launch this, it will be an announcement to the membership. There'll be a simple, I'll draft up a Q&A or whatever to go through it so they can understand what it is and why they no longer have to go to their 5 different groups. They can go to just one to get what they need.
Accurate.
So.
Correct.
So for clarity, you're gonna come back.
Yes, so all this is to announce that the next step is to sit down with the committees and kind of walk through how the process is gonna work and what content they should be posting versus, or submitting to be posted. Let me be very accurate, submitting to be posted from their designated person versus what they should be, running through management.
And you plan on having that done by the next meeting?
Correct. I want to meet with every single committee.
Written guidelines, please,
Correct. That is going to be, in that document. It's
and our posting standards, whatever you.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And obviously the posting standards until we launch this, I know we're going to continue to alter. So just know when it goes to launch, each committee will get the posting standards document.
Good.
Thank you. I'm just gonna call it a one-sided information social media page. When that is posted, will that go to management, to the admin to put out in an email?
Correct.
Because I'm not on any social media.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So any of the information that any person who has the rights to
Right.
post
Right.
is still their responsibility as it is today if this never existed, it's still their responsibility today to get that information
Okay,
management.
thank you.
So Ryan, just the reverse, so say we're gonna have to have the equestrian have postings. So say Mary is the one who's designated, she could send it to the admin and then the admin would post it on Facebook, because not everyone's on Facebook. So I guess the first thing is making sure who is the person
Or,
that's gonna be posted, it's on Facebook.
so are you saying, as far as equestrian, so the equestrian ad hoc?
Well, say, yes,
Or-
they,
Okay,
because even though we're an ad hoc committee, I'm sure there's
no,
information.
I
we wanna
want
post.
to understand
Yeah.
ad hoc versus equestrian as if it was carrot, because, you got technically 2 different things going on there. So, yes, as a committee, if they have someone who uses Facebook, they would be the designated person. If no one on the committee has it, then they can send it to management.
Nothing changes.
Right,
Isn't that what you said earlier?
correct,
Nothing changes from what we do right now.
Okay, thank
So however you get the information out right now, continue to do it.
correct.
This just is an added one for people to post on this site. Okay? So we'll look forward to you coming back to the next meeting. Next up is the 2024 membership survey, Brian.
Yep, thank you, Larry. I just wanted to go through, got some input since the last meeting. I'd like to acknowledge Martha Hagerty. He provided a wealth of survey formats and suggestions and that. So there's been some significant updates to the survey from when I was here last time and a couple sections added. So I'd like to step through those, and the goal is to get this approved here today. If we do need to do any English cleanup in that, I reserve the right to do that. But I'd like to get the general approval that this is close enough to go. Having done multiple survey developments in the past, I can tell you that this could be a 1-year project if we let it, and I don't want that to happen. Next. So why a survey? Get a large sample from the overall membership. The plan is to do this yearly and have it fairly stable, so we can see what the long-term trends are relative to feedback to the areas that are in the survey. Also, we're collecting some high-level demographic data. What that will allow us to do is sort the results by different demographics, i.e. age groups on it. Is there any trends by different age groups? Or also, if you look at, there's, some usage demographics in there, whether you're a resident, a weekend person, a camper, or a lodge user. So again, we can sort the feedback based upon those, different groups. Next. So the objective is, again, do this yearly to gauge member satisfaction with club services. And this is a high level, based upon the results out of this. If we see something that, would, warrant a deeper dive, there may be a more focused survey that follows out of this to get to a deeper understanding of a particular issue. Next. So if you look at the major categories, it's got demographics. Then it's got a block for amenity importance. I think that's important as we go through our priorities relative to funding, et cetera, and that is to understand from the general membership where the priorities are as a total group. An overall amenity satisfaction score for those same amenities. And then on key amenities, focus questions that go into deeper depth. And the intent is to utilize SurveyMonkey to do this. So it'll be an online, you can do it on your phone and just click away, or you can do it on your computer. Or if you want, we'll have it somehow available so you can get a paper copy of it, fill it out, and we'll get it inputted into the system. But the intent is to use the SurveyMonkey analytics to process the data. Next slide. So on demographics, Jimmy, can you go to show and zoom in a little bit? So the first one is, no, who's completing this? Is this the member, the spouse, or somebody else in the family? Next one is, how long have you been a member? 4 years less, 5 to 10, 11 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 or more years. Your age group, under 40, 40 to 50, 51 to 61, 62 to 70. Sorry, 71 to, I think, 84, and then 85 above. The upper age groups are kind of split into what I would call an empty nester group on it, what I'll call a retired group that are probably right around Social Security and getting income from that. And then what I call your senior members. So the next one is, how many children are in the family? The next one gets to whether you're a resident here or not. The next one is, if you're not a resident, how many nights, do you visit Lost Lake Woods in the previous year? And the last one is, when visiting, where you reside, cabin, home, campground, lodge rooms, or other. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Jimmy. So relative to amenity satisfaction, these are the 4 categories: very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. So we go through the major areas of the club: the lure, 5 lakes, golf, hunting, shooting sports, rifle range, archery, equestrian, pickleball, tennis, beach and lakes, fishing, woods trails, woods health. You can scroll down, Jimmy. Cross-country skiing, lodge accommodations, campground, special events, family, children activities, hosting a private event, security, subdivision relative to roads, plowing and grading. And then there would be a comment area down in the bottom for you to input any random comments. And any of these could be NA if they're not important to you, you just check the NA box on it. Next slide. The next slide is the same list of groups, but now rather than importance, it is basically how satisfied are you with, Jimmy, I think you skipped one. Okay, right here, don't go back up one. Because there is the importance, and then the next one is relative to all those amenities that we just stepped through. How satisfied are you with them at an overall level? So it's the same list. Next one. Can you scroll to the left, Jimmy? So diving into the lure, the questions for the lure are days of operation, hours of operation, menu selection, the location, the size, the ambiance decor, food quality, service quality, and overall satisfaction number. And again, this is a check against the high level amenity score, so we can cross correlate. Are people rating the satisfaction the same? When they think about it more after going through all these key areas, did their opinion change or not? And again, there's a comment section that'll be free flow text. And then there'll be a set free flow section. How would you improve the lure to solicit ideas? Next one. It's very similar to the 5 lakes, going through the questions, days of operation, hours, menu selection, location, ambiance, food quality, service quality, overall satisfaction, and then again, an opportunity for free flow input. Next slide. Next one is the food trailer. Again, days of operation, hours of operation, usage placement at events, overall satisfaction, and again, just basic comments and how would you improve that amenity? Next slide. So that covers our food service areas. Next is the lodge. The lodge again comes down to days of operation, hours of operation, room ambiance, room cleanliness, common area, lobby and members area, overall satisfaction, and then again, an opportunity for free flow input. Next one. Next one is the golf area. It's broken into 2 areas. The course itself, relative to preparation and quality, the rate of play, the scheduling service, the beer, alcohol cart selection service, overall satisfaction. Again, a comment section. And then the pro shop, hours of operation, merchandise selection, ordering ability and speed of fulfillment, event execution, visibility of the golf pro, then an overall satisfaction number, and again, area for specific input. Next slide. Getting into the subdivision and grounds, the areas for that area are road maintenance, snow plowing, grounds appearance, grass mowing, ditch maintenance, overall satisfaction, opportunity for input. The next area is for the campground, bathhouse size, bathhouse cleanliness, grounds upkeep maintenance, the lot size, the playground, overall satisfaction, and again, an opportunity for comments and input. And looking at this, we probably, I'll add an additional line in here for the pavilion down there, because that's the other big amenity we got down in that area. We should at least get some high level feedback on. Next one. Security, visibility, responsiveness, fairness, subdivision patrol frequency, woods gate patrol frequency, front gate staffing, overall satisfaction, and then the 2 areas for free flow input. Next. The front desk business operations. So again, our operation hours, the days, the knowledge, and able to answer questions at the front desk, service quality, responsiveness to issue resolution, again, an overall satisfaction, and a free flow input fields for comments and also improvement suggestions. Next slide. Communications, we kind of just touched on this. Question number 1, how do you get your information? The website, Facebook, newsletter, email. And the other one is, what is your preference format location on it? Again, that'll help us as we work through what Ryan just talked about and the other communication channels that we've got, where to focus on. And then the next one is the quality of the communications, the quantity, event notices, the billing stuffer newsletter, and the next one will be overall satisfaction comments. Next year, when we did this, we'll add an additional line in here for the the coffee table newsletters and get feedback on that. Obviously, this year, since that's not out yet, having an input on that would not be value added. Next slide. Feedback on management at a high level, manager availability, manager responsiveness to my issue, event execution and quality, and then overall satisfaction and how the club is run, and then comments. Next slide. You can probably go back to slideshow on this one. So I'll put this through, I stepped through this fairly quick. You can see the number of questions were well over 100 on it, but to get into the demographics, the high level satisfaction and importance, and then do the deep dives in the key areas that we've got in the survey right now. It got to this level. So we looked at making it very simple, but we weren't gonna get the information that we needed. So Larry, what I'm looking for today is to get board approval to start getting this loaded into Survey Monkey. And I'd like to be able to have this out and the data processed and have this back at the results back at the May board meeting.
Well, I would comment saying, first of all, that it sounds like you had some really professional help with it as well, some experience, you know, people input. So I don't know how much we would want to massage it. I mean, I think the professionals have already got it there. The question I would have is, what is the typical return rate?
If we look at, I think we got some results back. Let's go to our most recent one. We did one for conservation, and I think it went the 400 hunters, I think 100 responded.
I heard 30 responded.
It's about 30.
Yeah.
30 to 35%.
What about the survey to the intent?
So the member survey last year, that one, we had over 300 responses to.
Yeah.
On that one.
I was just wondering if there's anything we can do different to really encourage people to.
How about a
Fill it out.
drawing for dinner for two, if you fill it out, everybody goes into a drawing, I don't know.
Whatever, yeah, I'm just looking for anything we can do to get more data.
I mean, you know,
That's good.
just something to say,
Some
hey,
incentive.
you know, some incentive to get the rest of them, don't fill it.
Can I give it $5 back on their bill or something, you know, get them,
That's a good idea.
you know, just something, to make them do it.
Limiting this to one per membership or one per
Well, that
household.
was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because you have spouse as a breakdown. Cause go ahead, Brad.
I'll be honest with you, man, in my viewpoint, the more input we get, the better it is. So if both spouses respond,
Right.
that's good.
Yeah.
We're not taking a
It'd be
vote
like
out of
the
this.
difference between me and Ronnie.
We're looking
Right, I'm a
for
member.
as
You
many
want me to
people that.
fill it out, you want her to fill it out. I mean, come on.
We vote for Roddy, Bill.
Yeah, you might want here.
And no identification required.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No identification required, so be an anonymous.
No, you're
I-
saying yes for.
Well,
I did ask for the membership ID on there, and again, if we're gonna give a gift out,
Yeah.
we're filling it out, we're gonna have to have that identifier anyways.
Well, when I fill out, when they put my name on the receipt up there, it says 616A. You know, so there's a different
Right.
identifier for me
I don't know.
on our dues.
I don't think all of our members are aware that that is
Oh.
the case.
Right.
That's how we identify it in that system. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're
The
not
spouse is
primary.
A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's find that out. Yeah.
The women are keen on that.
Well, I think I think to be able to differentiate, I think the more input, the better. But I think being able to differentiate that as far as the analysis is
Yeah,
important.
and that's why we've got member, spouse, other.
Right, no, I think it's great.
So
But in
again,
terms of pushing it out, you know, in not every, for like constant contact or the system, is that only the member email?
It's the member or the spouse, whoever signs up for it.
but again, we're
But
gonna,
only one.
but what we're gonna push out is,
You can fill it.
what we're gonna push out is a Survey Monkey link.
Yeah, right.
So As long as that, you share that with your spouse, they can go in and fill out the survey,
And it does capture the member dues number, or are we capturing anything else?
dues number.
So everything will be attached back to the dues number through either a member.
So if we have, I wanna pick a
Others
high
will
number
be-
that we don't have. If we've got number 2,036, and we get 2 responses, one of them will be able to go down and will say member, the other one will go down and say
Yeah.
spouse.
Yeah.
If there's 3, one may say other, or you may have adult children in your house that you wanna fill it out, and you may have 4 against that membership.
So how do we make sure we let all the members know this is coming and it's important, and like with a heartfelt letter, we really need your input, and oh, by the way, we're gonna,
You can win great prizes.
yeah. I mean, how do we do that? How do we do that? Is that the promotions committee? We get them to help us with it?
I would suggest we got the email list as a club. We've got our members only Facebook page, and we got constant contact. The Facebook page has got over 860 users in it.
Right.
On it, almost 900. Constant contact, I think you've got a large portion of the membership in that. And then relative to email IDs, I think we've got even a larger portion there. And then again, we can put it in the mailbox up in front where we put the newsletter and stuff. We can have some printed copies there. If somebody wants to fill it out, we can have them turn it in.
So Brian, he's got his promotion meeting Tuesday. He's gonna try to get them to help us really promote it with all the sites you're talking about.
Okay.
So that we can really get it out there and put together some little letter that we really are gonna use this data as a team to try to improve.
I'll go strike that letter and I'll work with Ryan to bounce it by the promotions
Okay.
committee of that.
All right, cool.
If you keep
Yeah, other than that, I
it
love it.
Included in the statement stuffer that we send out.
Yeah,
The link could be included on there also. That would
Trying to do a QR code, make it really.
well, the email that'll go out, the Facebook post that'll go out, it'll have both the QR. If you get it by email, the QR is good because you can take your phone on your
Right.
screen and go to it. But you also have to have the direct link to Survey Monkey, so if you're on your phone, which you can't take a picture of your phone from your phone
Right,
on it, you can click on the link and go there.
right. No, I was just looking at
Yeah.
like our newsletter and stuff for people, but.
So Brian?
Yeah, Ryan.
So I mean, one other thing is, we always hear that some people in the club don't have computers. We have a computer here that you can use, so I think the other thing is to make people aware. If they don't have a computer up here, they can come to the club.
I don't know if we do, because the one that's in the lobby for the hunting
No,
kiosk is
it's on
limited to
Two in the
that.
library.
Yeah, there's 2
Okay,
upstairs.
okay, we can talk
So I
about
think
it.
just letting people
can
know
flag that
in the
too, yeah.
promotions that they have that ability to
Okay.
use.
Mhm. Okay. So you're looking forward, or you're just looking for approval from the board to move forward?
Yes.
Is the
Ryan?
newsletter already in print?
The newsletter is not already in print. It should be in print next week, but I wouldn't hold the newsletter up to get that letter back from them. There will be a statement stuffer next month, so
Yeah.
that was the,
You could do a, hey, look for in your statement, just a bullet.
I motion we move forward with this.
I've got one question before we take action on it. I guess, is there an option to, I know it's a long survey, but could we get house and beach related questions pulled out separately like the campground? Right now, I think we need a little more detail because a lot of our revenue streams aren't as formal as others, so we don't have that kind of feedback, financial performance to tell you how you're doing. We lump the beach in with all the other lakes, and I think it would be helpful if we had a small section on house and beach, kind of like campground there.
Scott, if you want to get that to me, I can look at adding it in as long as it's,
And I'll try to keep it like 4 or 5 questions.
yeah.
It's time for the board
Okay.
panel, right? Because we have
Exactly, 'cause
Right.
that's what I mentioned before, is it's really nice to have those 4 boxes linked to wherever we
Yeah,
can.
well, and again, relative to House and Beach, we do have the feedback on the 5 lakes, we do have it on the lure, we do have it on the lodging, we
Those
do
are
have it
well
on the
covered.
front desk. I think the only thing that we're probably missing underneath House and Beach feedback directly is the beach area.
Beach and pavilion is the one
Yeah.
I'm most concerned about.
Good.
So I'll support, Sharon's motion.
Yes, second. All in favor?
I-
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good.
And again,
Aye.
Which one?
Hey, laughter, you guys heard me. That's sweet. I fixed it.
We did.
Ed has dropped off his,
Yeah.
moving right now.
Exactly.
and again, thanks to Martha.
All right. So if we can move on to new business. Jimmy's got a couple report outs on the cell tower and the consumer's tree cutting.
So just a brief update on the Consumers Energy Project. They have been in here for the last 2 weeks. We had multiple, what?
I said I hadn't noticed.
I had multiple communications with different concerned members, so talking to them about whether to trim or cut trees. I corresponded with both consumers and them to resolve any issues that we might have had. I've been working directly with Nelson's Tree Service, who they contracted to do the work. They were on target to complete most of their work in here on Friday. I did not hear that they completed, so they should be completed by next week. There are the trees that are along Lost Lake Trail that haven't been cut down yet. We have to clear all the brush away before they cut those down, but they have let me know that they will come back and cut those after we clear the brush. It is not a big deal. They have other work that they're doing in the area. The gentleman is just trying to keep his crew busy, so.
Do we have an idea, Jimmy, on the golf course on how we're gonna contain some golf balls? When I look down there, there's quite a few spots on the driving range. Most of our members I know are not hookers, they're slicers. So
I don't have
I mean, there's some
I get it.
concern because you got some.
There has been, discussions that we rent to Tree Spade for different areas in the club. The club's got 11,000 acres, almost 9,000 of it here, 8,000 of it here is woodland. We have trees available.
Yeah, I'm just.
Relocating them would be our
just-
best option.
Yeah.
We don't have the opportunity to plant another row right now and hope it's gonna grow. If we wanna relocate trees to add extra coverage there, we would need to look at something larger that's still manageable. I think going forward, this creates the greatest opportunity for the board to keep in their purview of areas that are aging or areas that we want to make sure are consistently upkept on, whether it's the trees on Lost Lake Trail or the area by the subdivision, that we continue to keep those at our forefront. We've been talking about the trees at golf since I've started working here.
Oh, yeah,
So for the last 3 years, we've known that something was gonna happen, that they were gonna need to come down, that they were aging and dying, and some of those were gonna need to be removed.
I'm fine. It's just Brian talked about moving a row over, so there is some
Yeah.
protection on I'm just concerned when you drive by, there's some larger gaps that, I know, my golf balls don't always fly where they're supposed to.
Can we put a net along there?
I'm just why, I don't know, I'm just.
The cost will be high. I mean, we can look into it. We might be able to net between some of the.
Well, yeah, I'm
gaps,
just
maybe.
worried
I
about.
mean, we can
some
go
of the
cut
gaps.
popple poles down and stick in the ground there, and they'll get bird netting on top, and just something to deflect it down,
Sounds like an action item.
Yep, as Don said, move
Did you
along.
grab that?
Most of yours don't make it down that far, Sherm, don't worry.
Yeah. Hey, mine don't go much higher than this, so I don't have to worry about that, but.
I see where, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The piles of wood that are along the side of the road, are those?
They are open for the membership to take. Right now, my staff is trying to clear brush and a lot of it is gonna end up at the compost dump, but by all means, if you wanna assist us and come collect some wood and so we're not having to, transport it to the compost dump, yes, it is available. to members.
Any tree that was down in a member-owned lot belongs to that member.
Right.
Okay, that's why I was
Yes,
asking.
yeah.
But anything that's on club property, take whatever you want. Help.
Along the golf course,
If-
that's all.
If you are looking for wood, please let the front desk know, have them put a note in my box. I have members that are reaching out that don't have the use for the wood that was cut, and I will put individuals in contact. the club won't be relocating wood off a member's lot for you, but if you're looking for wood and you've got the means to move it, I will do my best and coordinate those talks.
I see we're doing there's like a cleanup being coordinated for.
There is,
April
in
and
the
second-
subdivision,
Yeah.
I have a new, e-blast that'll be going out by end of week. Matt Mead has been very, very gracious to volunteer his time and try to coordinate a subdivision work bee. He's trying to touch base with the golfers and some conservation people, and he's working with me to make sure we have the, equipment available, but they're gonna go through and try to clear down brush and clean away by, our intersections and things that are in dire need, have been for a long time.
Yeah, I'm gonna help out that weekend too, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I just had a question since you brought that up about you guys with Matt going around.
Yep.
There was a comment, he said that they were going to wood chip. You said about wood chipping into open lots. What exactly do you mean by that? You know?
That was his comment, I think.
When they
Yeah.
chip the wood, they'll just blow it into the lot instead of the truck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna see.
What he was saying was if
Around the wood.
he was asking if the ability was available for them to blow wood chips into club open lots. So they didn't have to transfer, not on a member lot, but on club owned lots where we had a bunch of down debris that they could help clear, could they just blow the chips there or relocate them? And I'm working with him on that
I
question.
just wanna make sure.
But they will be using the club wood chipper to facilitate a lot of this.
How fine is that? Can they separate live as opposed to dead as far as, I mean, you know, like limbs and trees? I'm just saying because the equestrian, if the wood chips are small enough, they could use them for.
It's
I
not,
don't know.
I don't know if it's small, I mean, the chipper, the way it chips is like what we have out at compost dump, I mean. You see the piles we've been putting out there for the last year, so it's not. It's a drum, it crushes it and they're not very fine wood chips.
Along the trails even, what about along your woods trails?
We've kept some so we can use them on different areas, but again, we've got an overabundance of wood chips here. Between the roads project that we've had undergoing, and then now you've got all of this, and we'll have subdivision cleanup stuff. The club has more wood chips than what they
It'd
can
be
use.
good to put that in the post state.
That is-
I mean,
That's
or
what
is
I was
that hard on
asking.
the books?
I was just asking
You
them.
know, in the dirt, so it's where they walk on.
No, it wouldn't be.
Oh, it wouldn't,
So innocent plug here, if you are wanting wood chips, the wood chips that are at the compost dump are available for members as well. That is there for their taking.
Larry, just one comment. Are we gonna take, since we got them in here cutting in that one Chinese elm that's right by the fountain needs to come down too? Can we get them to drop that?
I can talk to them and see, again, they were pretty, I got them to do a couple of troublesome trees that were still within their power lines.
I know they're stretching it then, but they got a bucket truck in here, they can probably knock that thing down to where you guys can manage it, probably a half hour.
I will talk to them and see what we can do.
Cause it's gonna have to come down sooner or later, so.
We can follow up, or we can write that.
Yeah, good.
No, as far as the Clean Energy, project, they were only targeting their main, three-phase coming in. A lot of the secondaries, people will know that they didn't go down their road, they didn't touch their trees. In talks with them, they'll be looking at maybe later on this year towards fall or winter time, or next year. They will probably be back in to address more in the subdivision. The areas that they worked on right now were their main outage areas. They had the most outage related incidents in those spots.
Don't say I said this, but if you get some blue paint, and put an X on a tree in the right of way, they'll take it.
So you've heard, right?
Yeah, these guys are not as,
So walk by your neighbors.
organized as the last group was.
Please,
Because the last group, they actually had a ledger by each
Yeah.
block, how many X's, how
Yeah.
many dots in that, and a new one showed up.
Well, they
They
did
caught
look
it.
at it. I saw them, they're looking at their paper, like, you know.
That sure be fun to fish your neighbors off.
Please,
Go put it
please
right
don't
there.
mark someone else's tree.
Anything else? Do you have the cell phone?
This was,
I have
this
this all
was,
from
No.
and it was dead and dying. They weren't gonna take it.
So as a member request, the club has looked into a cell phone tower again. So I wanted to provide an update on that. A bit of background history. It is management's understanding that in the 2000s, there was a member vote to have a cell phone tower put in, and that was voted down. A vote would require 2/3 of the membership, not 2/3 of the vote, for a land use change. That is, there was a decree in, I believe, 85, of course, Jim Braden's not here to inform me on the exact date of
That motion went through, it failed on the undeveloped land. They could still put it on the developed properties. So they could put one at the clubhouse, stuff like that, but undeveloped is where it failed.
Yep,
Yeah.
I was just providing some background history in trying to get through that part.
Larry, as part of the workshop we got coming up on bylaws, do you want me to add that to the list?
Well, let's see what he's gonna have here first. I'm not sure where you're going with this.
So there were two other times that the club is, from what I can get from records wise, has historically reached out and tried to facilitate a cell tower being brought on property. In 2019, the board and the club reached out and filled out paperwork with both Verizon and AT&T sourcing to see if they were interested in putting a tower on property. There was no reply back. We did not hear anything back on those. In 2021, we worked with a third-party firm who their key role was to put us in touch with cell phone providers that would be interested based off of the information and the parcels that we had available, along with all the other information in the area. That ended up, we had multiple conversations with them going throughout the year. Conversations stalled in January of 2022 with no reply back from them after that. I'm assuming that they did not receive any interest on their end, so they just stopped all contact. So as a bit of mission, I promise we'll get to questions as soon as we get through the presentation. So there's I was able to find a step-by-step process of what you should do if you're wanting to get a cell tower added to your property. So first thing they recommend you do is you look for other cell towers within your area. For a rural area, they determine it as a 3-mile radius. The next is to research local zoning codes for cell tower requirements. Management is under the process of looking into zoning codes. Specifically where we have to understand is the club has multiple parcels of land. So we cover different zones. What is it? It's not zones, it's different, it's not.
Districts.
It's different districts.
Zoning
So-
districts.
And our zoning district codes are based on those areas. So we would need to really know what area of land we're discussing on using. 3 is checking coverage maps. So I do have a couple of coverage maps for us to look at, so we understand why we're probably not hearing back from individuals. This is a T-Mobile coverage map. So as you can see, Lost Lake Woods Club is here. Might be able to zoom in just a little bit for you guys to see that. So Lost Lake Woods Club and its surrounding area all the way out to Hubbard Lake over on this side. This is T-Mobile. They are using a partner service. They say they have full coverage in this area based on what they got. This one will zoom back out a little bit so you can see the ledger.
Does anybody in here have T-Mobile?
I do.
You do?
I do.
This guy.
And does it work good
How
all
many
through the
bars
club
you
here?
got?
No.
It's gotten a lot better in the last 6 months or so, I must say.
The problem is this doesn't differentiate whether you have a good signal. It differentiates if their cell tower is providing coverage.
Yeah, I'm getting 4G. coming
So,
through. Wow.
There are some things that outside of having coverage, because really from a network standpoint, the cell phone providers are only looking to make sure they fill their coverage gaps. So with this, we're really talking about coverage gaps. If we're talking about signals, there are other options that we can do for signal boosters that will help boost cell signal in a given area. I'll touch base a little bit on that at the end. So Verizon is stating that they have 4G LTE coverage throughout the entire club.
Good luck with that.
Again, I have
That is so not true.
Again,
Unbelievable.
I have to go from what the online coverage maps are showing, and again, coverage and signal are two different things. This is.
Yeah.
This is AT&T, and this is the one that really confuses me, because they're showing that they have 5G in areas here at the club. I know we have no 5G here at all, but this is their coverage map, so at a bare minimum, they have 4G everywhere, is what they're saying. 4G coverage, not 4G signal.
AT&T.
Yeah.
They like set up.
So the next step would be, they recommend that you actually put a sign on your property indicating that you're interested in leasing land for a tower. So that would be like at our main gate, we put a sign up that says we are interested in leasing land for a cell phone tower. Put it up there, post it. The next step, which is a step that we've completed for the last 5 years, we still go out and do them. I have filled out one for AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, again with no response back. I have filled out a couple for some third-party places where they'll do like an online talk, and then basically they just say, oh, you don't currently have a lease, we're really not interested in dealing with you. But this is submit your property to wireless carriers. They have direct forms online that you fill out. This information is the information you're looking for. So, you need to provide them your address, the size of the parcel that you have available, latitude and longitude coordinates if available, zoning classifications if you have those, distance from major roadways. Ideally, they're looking to, the cell phone tower, they're looking to have it within 500 and 1,000 feet off a main public paved roadway. So for here in the club, they would be looking somewhere within Fox and Lost Lake Trail. Those are our main paved roadways, or maybe out towards the woods where it's paved, but they identify that they're wanting, Verizon specifically wants it off a paved road. Or F41, you know, that's, again, we have Badger Road, so you have to be within 1,000 feet of F41, but you have an area over there that you could look at. So I think going forward, if the club is really interested in pushing this, you would need to identify the area of the club we're wanting to locate it on.
Well, a lot of those, to get the best signal, you want to have line of sight. That's the problem that we've got relative to the AT&T map you showed. Relative to the distance to a tower, we're in the broadcast range. The problem is line of sight wise, we've got ridges between us and where the tower is at. That's causing a major portion of the problem. That's why you get a lot of times service here. But you go down, like where I'm at, down on Norway and that, down on the north end, you don't get any service at all.
Topography wise, the club's not really high up. We're actually lower on the other side of F41. Is about 100 feet higher from sea level than we are. And then as you go out, you know, out towards Hubbard Lake, it rises again. So really the subdivision is kind of in a swale. So as you stated, we're not really high up. We wouldn't be ideal from a cell phone tower area there either to have one directly here unless we can
Put it on top.
put it on
Well,
top.
it would be good for us locally. It would
Correct.
not extend coverage up to Swede Road, et cetera, that just like the Swede Road Tower doesn't cover us.
Right.
Okay, so some key factors to keep in mind when choosing cell tower locations, or what wireless carriers do, is distance to adjacent towers. We touched on that earlier. They really don't want anything within a 3-mile radius. Density of population or high traffic counts. So if you're in a rural area or you're not within a half mile of a major highway or town with a population of 2,000 or more, you probably won't get a phone tower on your property. That's gonna be a struggle for us because there already are towers in the area. Their coverage maps are showing there's coverage here. And really from a population density standpoint, we don't have a year-round residency that would push near that 2,000 mark.
Well, didn't you hear Ian's taking 1,500 undocumented workers, so we're at.
Now we just gotta get them to all sign up for Verizon. So we
Exactly.
Last one is zoning, which we touched on earlier in the presentation, but that is where the club is at so far on this. I'm still gonna continue to look into zoning regulations. I believe it's apparent that we have a need here, that we should just be continually reviewing our opportunities available to us. I did touch earlier that there are some options that the club can look at doing for boosting signal in given spaces. So you could look at putting a cell phone booster on top of the clubhouse. They have some within a range of, you know, between $3 and $5 grand, you could put a booster. It would cover 15,000 square feet. So you could cover the lodge, have better signal here. You could do something directly at the pro shop.
Well, the issue is if you're in the lodge, you can turn on Wi-Fi calling and you've already got it.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi calling here kind of sucks on my cell phone. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. That's not ideal either. What I'm saying is we do have some other opportunities that even if we can't get a cell tower here, if we're trying to improve a service to our membership that we could look at doing that is outside of the network provider's control, that we have some control over.
Yeah.
So we're continuing to look up on that, and I'd expect we'll have another update here in a couple of months.
Larry, the other thing is, I happened to be at an event a short while ago and had an opportunity to talk with Debbie Dingle. She's one of the state representatives. She's from the Detroit area and that. And she intimated that our local representative may be able to help us too. That, one of their key things is, constituency happiness and that. And they're doing a lot of work on rural internet service, et cetera, and that. She said that may be a way for us to get some help too. So I'll take that on as an assignment. I'm gonna try to contact our local representative and see, and our local state senator to see if they can help.
You talk to Dave Yachts as well, or he's on our board in Alphona County. They're doing a lot with rural internet and basically looking at having fiber optics coming this way fairly soon.
We have
Okay.
fiber on,
Jimmy,
it only goes to Fox up.
that boost that you were talking about, did it happen to be WeBoost? Have you heard of that?
That might have been one of the providers. There's a couple different companies that sell those. So it's a booster tower. You put, it receives the signal and then boosts it out. So there would be a tower with it would catch the signal and then boost it for everybody. But, it would end up having to go on a tower so it catches higher up.
You put them down at telephone poles?
We don't own the telephone pole, so I don't know. I'd have to look into that one. Those are owned by the electrical company.
Jimmy, one other thing I will say for us, at Grandma's Cabin, years ago when the cell phones were horrible here, I know AT&T provides it. I'm assuming Verizon, T-Mobile and them do as well. You can get your own home cell booster as well, and they're very inexpensive. I think they're still we just had it updated, and I think it was $40 to get it.
Yeah, it's not, those aren't expensive at all, but those would only work in the local area.
Yeah, they work pretty much your house,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of the complaint of members is I can't get a cell phone signal in my own home. And I will say I have to still prop my phone up in the middle window, western facing side of the house in order to get more than one bar, and the one bar hardly ever works. So I get 2 bars if I prop it up in the little window. Otherwise, it doesn't really work. So
Okay, then you move forward. If we can move on to our next line item, we have a new member announcement. Ronnie, would you like to?
Can I ask a question quickly?
Sure.
On the cell tower, last time it got voted down by the membership, was there a tower company lined up to put a tower in?
From my
There was.
understanding, there
I
was
heard they were.
a tower, again, that was 20 years ago.
Okay, so if we get a tower, or, cell company to agree to bring a tower here, we still have to have 2/3 membership approval, correct?
Well, the 2/3 membership approval, as Tammy alluded to, was because the area that they were looking at putting the tower on required a land use change. So it was not what it was originally identified for. So if the area of land that we're discussing is already zoned and approved for that type of use, then no, I don't think we would.
Approved by the club or by the zoning board?
Well, zoning comes through the zoning board, land use comes from the.
Membership.
But we don't have anything approved right now for a tower. So we're still talking about a 2/3 vote.
Putting it.
No, only if it's on,
They could do it
out on the
themselves.
land out there,
They
you
can't
can,
do it.
but you can do it here in the subdivision.
They may remember when there was a lawsuit and consent judgment about this at one
It's
point
the
in time.
consent,
Well,
yeah,
it's
it's the
the state,
consent
state
decree,
Anderson
and
one,
that's
that
why.
gets to the 2/3, so that's in the back of the bylaws, if you look at the bylaws, it's
I was
document
just-
number 1.
I know something's kicking in my brain.
Sorry,
Jimmy, when I checked into it like 7, 8 years ago, I was told by the Verizon, there was 3 weekends a year that justified usage of this club for a tower. That was Memorial Weekend, 4th of July weekend, and Labor Day weekend.
that's probably for.
That's the only time that they couldn't justify the cost of the tower. And that was before going into land usage or anything. But they were not interested in putting a tower on this club because they couldn't justify the cost. Now, maybe things have changed in the past 7, 8 years, I don't know. But that's what I found out.
You know, the biggest thing I learned, the more and more you read on this, especially, you know, third-party sites will really help you providing information. You are not going to convince a cell phone tower company to put a tower on your property unless it falls within their network plans.
Yeah.
They have to have a need. Already identified, and chances are, if they've identified a need, they're gonna reach out to you.
They haven't identified.
But that's where I think it falls on us, the membership, is we are paying AT&T for coverage and not getting it. The member needs to go after AT&T. We are paying Verizon for coverage and not getting it. The member has to go after Verizon. I don't think the club needs to get into the cell phone business.
No, to your point, Andy, I go every 3 months,
Yeah.
at Verizon, and I go on their website and I complain about the service.
And that's what I think all 800 or something members have to do. We're paying their cell phone providers for a service and we're not getting it. It's not the club's fault. It's your provider. And I mean, I got Spectrum. and I
Let's move
got-
forward. Ronnie, could you give us some insights of our new member candidates?
So Ryan, do you have the votes?
I do. I have all 9 votes and all are, for approving Lynn Krogsred, for full membership.
And I understand they're online.
Well, they were, she texted me, they had to drop at 10 o'clock, but
Oh,
I'd
okay,
like to, welcome Lynn and Matthew
yeah.
to the club. They're very excited. They're gonna be great members. They have family here, so I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Fantastic, great. Okay, like we talked about at the beginning of the year, we're gonna have 4 boxers for our committees, and they're gonna come in full transparency to the membership and report out what their committee is working on. First one we have for today is House and Beach.
Okay. So, let me start with a little overview. The House and Beach is a standing committee. It's composed of 6 members and we leverage additional volunteers as needed. Gary Miller is the chair and also the future planning rep for the committee. Karen Bender is our vice chair. Dawn Ross, who was, oh, she's still there, good. She's the secretary and admirable job there. Linda Gifford is a visionary and that we've been trying to have a communications coordinator for the last couple of years. So Linda's been doing kind of much of what Ryan was talking about doing with regards to posting House and Beach related items on Facebook. Sue Ann Lassiter and Paula Wilson, they joined the committee this year. Paula is working with a sub-team to do design consultation on some of the lodge remodeling options. And then myself, Scott Parenteau, is the board liaison. We're meeting monthly as posted. Certainly encourage anybody that wants to join in. There's always a Zoom connection there. We've met 3 times so far this year, and our next meeting is April 3rd at 7 o'clock. Go to the next page, the projects, just before we get into the 4-box arena, these are kind of the major things we're working on this year. Annual event is preparing the beach and the related equipment for the 2024 season. There's a lot of work that'll be going on here this spring leading up to Memorial Day. Another big project is to repair and replace the pavilion roof. That's been a project that we've been trying to get through for the last year, and that's in the budget, and we're gonna get her done this year. Next one is design a proposed outdoor walkway from the lodge to the pavilion to the beach. That's not funded for anything more than doing a landscape architectural design study. But essentially, the only way to get from the lodge to the beach is to walk down Lost Lake Trail, which is high traffic, and it's still not very convenient due to the slope to get to the pavilion. Refresh the Lure, Bears Den, and Five Lakes Grill. As if you saw the results of the last month's meeting of the board, we approved purchase of some furniture from repurposed from another establishment that we're gonna redo the Lure. We've already had money in the budget for flooring and paint, so we're gonna try to put the best face forward on our very important dining options. The next one is complete the multi-year project to furnish and decorate the members lounge area, the lounge upstairs. We've been doing it a quarter or quadrant at a time. All the 3 have been completed. The 4th quadrant is funded for this year, and that's the area in front of the fireplace, if you will. And the plan is to make that sort of a multi-use tables and chairs and work areas, so that we don't have to have the card players keep moving tables around, and it'll be a overflow if we need it from the dining room. So we look forward to that being a very useful addition to that space up there. And then we're also working on embracing the 4-box chart process to track and report the House of Beach progress, supporting our overall club goals. And that's where we'll go into the next slide, which is our approach to the 4-box is basically to really have 3 separate charts for House of Beach, because our operations and our data streams are different enough that it would get way too complicated to try to cram everything in one slide, I think. And you kind of see that with these 4-box charts anyway. They're kind of an eye test to put on a screen. They're good for reporting, but not so much for presenting. So what we're looking at is to do the beach and the related amenities, the boats, and equipment, and the bathhouses as one chart. And we combine the pavilion and the clubhouse for the second one, and then we'll do a third one for lodging. What we don't want to do, is the second bullet elaborates, is to get into the food and beverage operation from a food quality, value, service, or events standpoint. House and Beach is, you could say the bylaws would say House and Beach should be involved in that, but historically, we haven't really been engaged on that. Plus, we've got Ian and his staff and administration is highly engaged on food and beverage right now, and we've had Ryan working as a special emissary, if you will, or an ad hoc subcommittee on it, as we've done in the past. So there's a lot of other people working on food and beverage, and I think it'd be best to let the cooks work on that, so you can keep House and Beach out of that. I would say, as the third bullet indicates, that the facilities aspects of food and beverage, we would like to own, and we propose that be tracked under the second 4-box, or the pavilion and clubhouse. You know, as I mentioned, we're doing a bunch of remodeling that's aimed at making the food and beverage operation a more pleasing activity, but we will track those. So for today, I'd like to just look at the chart that I think is most mature so far. And that is our beach and amenities chart, and go through that in detail. It's still a work in progress, but this would be an example of, this is my point. This is really an eye test for presenting it. It's really good to sit down and look at it and study it, but it is hard to display all the information on the screen. So what we might want to think about, Larry, is how we would break these out for talking purposes in a meeting format. But to make it a little easier, go with what we've got. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner, financial data plot.
Do you want to leave the box you're talking about? Could you zoom in on the one?
I'm not
box?
presenting it, so if
Oh, you're not
Jimmy
presenting
can do it.
Oh,
What's that?
And she wanted to zoom in on
if you
that
could zoom
box.
on so we could,
Yeah, we don't need to, really,
okay.
kind of what's good for today was what you did already. Is
Okay.
to go through the strategies and what your team is gonna be working on in the near future.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah, but
if
you're right,
wanna-
Ronnie, if
for sake of.
you don't change the format, you can zoom into each
Yeah,
box.
that's good. I mean, that's good. We can at least, I
Yeah.
can read it now.
Well, the financial boxes, don't move it again, but that's where we're waiting on
Yep,
a link to data. When it comes to the beach, one of the big problems is we don't have a financial data stream. There's not any revenue directly created by the beach. We don't charge people to use it. So the funding comes from dues, it's covered in in that manner. But what we do want to do is look at the expenses. One of the things we really don't know is how much money is the club spending to provide the beach. You know, we have daily maintenance done on the sand, there's cleaning of the bathhouse. We'd like to put together a cost that we can track as to what it costs to run the beach, just so we can do a value judgment at some point. The other piece of data that we'd like to get, as mentioned before, with Brian's survey data, is to continue to track our trend line with customer satisfaction through the member survey.
mhm.
So Scott, I'll work with you on that and, we can, knock that out in the next week.
Yeah, I'll shoot you something this afternoon or tomorrow at latest.
So one comment is, you know, we talk about looking for volunteers. I know the promotions committee's working on a volunteer list. We need to make sure we add that as one of the committees that we're looking
Yeah,
for help.
we've been in contact with them.
Okay, good.
For that purpose, but yes, definitely. So if we go to the strategic initiatives box, the upper right one that they're looking at, most of it now. You know, again, we're not directly generating revenue, but we generate a lot of enthusiasm from the members. The beach is heavily utilized, you could argue, is, you know, one of its premier things that might attract families. So, you know, that's a key thing in our goals, is to increase usage. Then try to tie it to other activities that do generate revenue, like the food trailer and special events. So if you go to the bottom box, is really kind of the meat and potatoes of, you know, what are we specifically working on? I covered sort of the high level objectives, but there's a lot of detail with regards to what we want to do at the beach. I'll just go through that 1 to 7 list there to start with. So we want to ensure that the beach, the sand, the bathhouses are all maintained in a clean, presentable manner. Been doing a really good job at that. The only opportunity to do better, I think, this year is we agreed to start using the campground bathhouse cleaning standards for the beach.
We implemented a set time of which it'll be there and cleaned and a checklist for exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, they were fine before, but this will make them much better. Then we want to continue to work on weed control and muck. Those are kind of complaint areas in certain sections of the swimming area, but especially in the kayak launch area. We'll continue to hold water safety classes for members to become a little more familiar about the risks and controls that they should be exercising with their families. Because again, the point is that there are no lifeguards on duty there, so everybody is gotta be responsible for everybody else. Continue our goose abatement programs. If we get complaints, a lot of times they're related to swimmer's itch, which is related to geese activity, not to mention their daily contribution to the, you know, appearance of the beach.
Are we allowed to harass the geese? I know in the past, we've had a permit to shoo them off.
Within limits, and we've been putting out these wind socks, there's probably a better term, Don, but and we've been trying to keep them away, and for whatever reason, they seem to have decided that there's better places to go. I think conservation was helping create some loafing areas on the other side of the lake.
Yeah, they did a work beat last year. They took the tag alters down, going to the two fields on the other side, because
Right.
he's
I
like
think that
line of
helped
sight
a
to
lot.
the water.
Well, I mean, like, I'll bring the dog down and chase
You
them off.
Oh, yeah.
can harass with the dog, but to do the hard harassment, you need to
Right.
have a permit.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't have a permit right
The
now.
cannons and that sort of stuff you can go there. Your dog likes to eat geese, you know, they're there to chase.
Yeah.
We got plans to, paint, and repair the storage shed there. It's, starting to show a little, wood rot along the ground lines, and the structure is in need of paint. And the inside, we're gonna paint the, shade structures, the basketball, hoop, structures. And, kind of a really nice neat thing that everybody is waiting for is we got a new small kiddie slide, I'll call it, a water slide that is more like the historic slide that's been out there, but we put it in the shallower water, and it's smaller in height for smaller children to play with, so kind of looking forward to seeing that. I'm sure people will appreciate that with small kids. Then longer term, we got to look at again, trying to maximize revenue and reducing costs, so keeping track of what we're spending to maintain the beach, and then generating additional revenue opportunities by attracting people to be at the beach and use the food trailer, or special events that we charge for. We're still looking through opportunities for those kind of things. And the last thing I'd say is that one of the things we gotta watch out for is how the social membership, if it's approved, how it impacts our capacity of the beach. Sometimes it can be very crowded during the summer, so we may need to look at reorganizing the parking lot and trying to improve our efficiency of getting people in and out of the beach, but that's just something to be concerned about.
So Larry, one thing that was brought to me, and I'm not sure if you heard this, but I had some members approach me about, when we think about the pavilion and attracting families and stuff, is having a family movie night in the pavilion, where you have a screen, you just have a sheet, you have the projector, you show a movie. It could be on a Saturday night, you have the food truck sell popcorn, but when you think about having family, trying to really keep the family and a reason why people want to come up here, and I'm not sure if anyone shared that with you.
I haven't heard that, but the bingo I know is held one second, and then it was back. And
I think we've proven it. If we build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
Gotta come up with ideas, suggestions.
I think there is a huge, you know, benefit to special events around here, not necessarily big grandiose ones, but just fun stuff like
Right.
football games and.
Right.
So,
Okay,
so that's our report for this month, and we can go through the other 4 boxes and subsequent ones.
thank you, Scott, appreciate it. We're going to skip equestrian to next month. So can we move on to food and beverage?
Okay, as the key strategic initiatives remain the same in the top right quadrant, increasing membership, boosting activity levels at all the amenities, increasing the member and guest satisfaction, and so forth. As far as the key growth drivers, a lot of this is where we started at the beginning of the year, improved staffing availability and consistent hours of operation. That has that is continuing to improve, and as we ramp up, staffing for the season, we'll be hiring in quite a lot of new staff, over the next few weeks, ready for, Memorial Day weekend. So, we're comfortable that we're gonna have improved availability of staffing. Consistency of the hours of operation, that was outlined in the budget process as to what we were committing to as our minimum hours of operation. And it's been, so we've been consistent with that, and the feedback has been much more positive than we've had in the past. We're in the process of updating our menu based on item sales and popularity and member feedback. Ryan's assisting on the 5 Lakes Grill menu with us, and we're reviewing the current lure menu and making some adjustments to that one. Maintaining consistent quality of food service and delivery, that is ongoing, and we continue to monitor that and tweak it and make improvements where we see a need. We're continuing to seek new and additional food and beverage event opportunities. We've been working with the promotions committee on that. In February, as you know, we, with the help of Larry and the members committee, we were able to bring in an entertainment for the Trout Derby weekend. And that obviously drives more traffic and more sales. We've got tonight our trivia night with St. Patrick's Day theme. And then we're waiting for the selection Sunday tomorrow with the NCAA brackets to be finalized so that we can start pushing out some promotions for March Madness over the next, 3 weeks until the finals. We continue to look very closely at the financials as it relates to volume of sales and actual dollar numbers to see if we are able to achieve break even in the food and beverage areas, and to monitor the daily sales and red flag those consistently slow periods where we know we are making a financial loss by being open, to determine what changes we may need to recommend to the board that we want to make. Again, the level of operations that relates to maintaining a core staff, as you know, when we went through the budget process, the minimum level of operation was a requirement to maintain the core staff year round that we needed, without having to lose them and hire back in and retrain and so on and so forth. I think having gone through this winter period, we found that we have, those hours are workable. We have been able to retain all of our staff over this winter period, which is very, very good news. As far as staff training goes, we've implemented some specific training goals. A lot of it is skills training as it relates to their specific job functions, but more importantly, customer service training. We're doing in small groups and collectively as a department in some areas. Monthly department meetings specific to food and beverage is going on, where we're providing them with updates on our financials and other key aspects of their roles within the club. We decided at the start of the year that we were going to do performance reviews on all of the food and beverage staff prior to the season, so that we could identify opportunities, so that they could be more effective through the summer season. That is, we're almost complete, I think, on all of those.
They have begun.
They've begun, okay, all right, yeah, so they should be done certainly in the next couple of weeks. We'll have done a performance review on all of the food and beverage staff, which is what was needed. We go to the bottom left.
Hey, Ian, before you move off on
Yeah.
that one, on staff training,
Mhm.
could we look at how I want to put it, we've got core staff that we've invested a lot of time on and et cetera, and that as part of the training, make part of their job responsibility as we have the seasonal staff come in, have like each core employee tagged to support 1 or 2 of the seasonal employees so that they can mentor them and help them along.
We've identified lead personnel. That should be the core people that we have providing the additional skill training to the seasonal staff.
Yeah, I'm just getting to that it becomes part of their job responsibility to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to make one comment. Your food quality and your service has been very consistent, very excellent over the last couple months. every time that I've been in or anything we've done on a bird hunt, we've had nothing but excellent meals and almost zero complaints. You know, and that's 70, 80 people that have gone through the dining room. So if you haven't eaten here in a while, I suggest you try it out. You'll be happy.
Great, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah. Again, revenue has been, somewhat disappointing. We were below our budgeted revenue for January and also in February. We're just looking at the preliminary numbers for February now. Big part of February was there was a lower member turnout for the Winterfest and South Derby weekend, which was due to the weather. As you know, we weren't even sure until 2 days before whether we were going to be able to actually do the South Derby. And that's reflected when you look at the numbers compared to the comparable weekend last year. We were able to get the food truck out there despite the mud on the road. The food truck made it out to Bear Lake, and that proved very successful. We did about $1,000 in sales on the food truck out there that day, which was good. We have the analysis of where our sales are on those break evens that I mentioned earlier. Our weekend breakfast is losing money. We're just not getting the participation in on those weekend breakfasts. With the, if we have a big group in-house or a preserve hunt weekend where we're providing breakfast food. And so we need to make some tough decisions as to whether we want to provide that service to our membership in the fall and moving into the winter next year. Likewise, our Thursday night lure sales have been disappointing. They're lower than what we had anticipated and what we desire. Some weeks we would be at break even. Oftentimes we would be losing some money if you just look at that pure time period that you mentioned there.
Sorry, Ian, can you speak up when you turn?
I'm sorry. Yes, I mentioned the Thursday lure sales are lower than we had expected or desired. Our banquet sales are off for January and February. A big part of that is due to the pheasant hunt, so that didn't materialize for a number of different reasons. We have been working with the promotions committee where we've identified some opportunities to target the specific groups to see if we can bolster our pheasant hunts in the fall, so that we can recover some of that lost revenue. Our promotions committee were very quick to turn around a brochure on our shooting preserve, and we were able to send these down to Pheasants Forever, a big showcase going on down in Frankenmuth this weekend. Where these will be on display, and we also donated a silent auction prize for them, which includes a free hunt for one person, which will be a guest hunt that will come in. So we continue to again look for other opportunities where we can target specific groups that have an interest in bird hunting, to see if we can, like I said, recover that revenue later on in the year. We invested in January and February earlier than in our budget on equipment repair. We also had to replace a big refrigeration unit in the kitchen, which wasn't planned for replacement this year, but that has been done. Pleased to announce that Tiffany Wilburn, who is one of our cooks that returned to us after having been on hiatus for a few years, we promoted her to kitchen supervisor this past couple of weeks, and she now is giving direction to the staff, and the staff have got a lead person that they can work with. The staff right now is very motivated and the morale is high. Very pleased and delighted to see it, and we'll keep that going through the season. We should be good. And then to Sherman's point, the consistency of the food and service has improved, and we will continue to work on that and get it to the next level. As everyone has said with these 12 boxes, we're still working on financial data, but I did think I'd just quickly share with you some of the other things that we do analyze was when we make some key menu decisions, and that's our item sales. And I wanted to share with you specific areas of what our sales were in January and February. As you can see, pizza sales, we sold 102 pizzas in January and 130 in February. Our dinner specials and entrees, those two lines would primarily be the equivalent of covers in the Five Lakes Grill. So if you can see, our specials have proven very, very popular. 238 in January as opposed to just 138 of our regular menu items. And then in February again, 278, but our regular menu items picked up significantly to 276 in February. Interestingly, with our burgers and our handhelds on our menu there, we only sold 10 burgers in January and only 8 in February.
Wow.
So obviously that's gonna require a serious look as to, I think we've got 4 different versions of burger on our menu. We may want to rethink that. Obviously, we're only looking at a very small snapshot in time, and it's our slowest period. So I'm not saying that this is necessarily representative. I think burger sales will pick up a lot in the summer. But it's an eye opener when you actually see those numbers like that side by side. You know?
But Ian, you can go back and look through all last year's data.
I can, yeah,
Look at it
that's
the same way, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then our basket meals, as you can see, 144 in January, 195 in February. Salads are low, which you would expect this time of year. And then our appetizers, strong in January, down in February, but again, our entree counts are up in February, which means people were moving off of the appetizers and onto the main entree. So there's a lot of data available to us that we can do deep dives, which I really think is going to help us as we move forward into the future with our food service program.
So then are the baskets, everything but burger, so there's not a burger basket, so a burger.
Those are the tracks. Yeah.
Ian, have you thought about chatting with Dartley and see if they'd move to Thursday night? It might give you an extra day instead of being open in the week. I don't know, on Tuesday. It makes sense. As a thought. just a
Yeah, I
thought.
don't think there's a requirement for it to be Tuesday at all, but that's something we can look at, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
I just think it would help with it.
Then Tuesday will be no funny.
Well,
Right.
but he could have his stuff.
Maybe we could shift service. Right now, we're open on Tuesdays purely for Dartmouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Where Thursdays, there's other drivers to be open, but if we could combine somehow. it'd be great.
This
But-
place is packed with starters. I mean, this is.
It is.
I'm just, but it helps with food prep, it helps with food prep for the weekend and, you know, your staff can be doing something else. They're not gonna prep for Friday night because on Tuesday, it's just.
I
it's
think
just
the
an idea.
reasoning behind that is to break up the week, non-busy time for them versus.
I was just trying to give them an idea to say, hey, it helps with staffing.
Efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
Economy for efficiency.
Yeah. It always has.
Oh, I did want to just mention one thing, it did come up on Facebook last week or a couple of weeks ago. And it's been mentioned by the same person online again here. Questions about the liquor license continues to be confusion out there. All I can say is I'm gonna, the club liquor license rules are very clear. That alcohol can only be sold to a club member. We've been consistent on messaging that out to the membership. As far as members' guests are concerned, as long as the member is on property and they have authorized their guests to charge to their own member account, the member's account, then that guest may get alcohol, but it has to be charged to the member account. The guest cannot pay for it. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. That is the way the law is written, and it's the opinion that's been given to us as to what we can do as a club. Okay, nice.
Well, good job. You successfully made me hungry.
You want a burger, Larry?
I would like to make a comment. I think the team has done a great job of food and beverage here in the last couple of months. I mean, the change in the morale of the work staff seems quite dramatic in a favorable direction. I do see the consistency of food seeming to get more consistent. So kudos to the team and I encourage you to keep working together and keep following your action items you say you're gonna take, and I think we'll move in the right direction.
And the key is not to become complacent. We can always improve, and that's what, and that's the goal.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks for presenting. Appreciate it. Okay, we have a couple borrows to present.
On the social membership proposal, just to try to capture the information from our discussion earlier, every board member has a hard copy of the ballot in their packet. It might be easiest to glance at those. And then if you turn, there's 6 pages, if you turn to page 4 of 6. K3, letter A. Currently reads, social members must undergo the same background checks process as full members, incurring a $200 processing fee. I would add the sentence, social members shall undergo a director interview and orientation meeting.
Okay.
And then on page 5, K6A, it reads currently lodge, and then in parentheses, non-holiday, non-event weekends with preference given to full members on a waiting list. I would suggest we change the parenthetical language to read, so the new reading would be lodge, and then in parentheses, may access on holiday and event weekends with preference given to full members on a waiting list. Okay, and that would be the only changes from our earlier discussion.
And you would leave the policy of implementing that to management, correct? How
Correct.
we're going to-
Correct. Because it's moot on that, so it's for you guys to decide. So that would be the only changes, correct, from our earlier discussion?
That's all I've tried.
And I've shared a document with you, Ian.
I saw it coming, I've not looked at it.
Yes, okay, with that, with those changes, so.
So I would be looking for a motion from a board member to approve the ballot with those changes to be printed and mailed as soon as possible, with the ballot count taking place on April 15th.
I'll make some motion.
I'll second.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
I estimate with the changes, we'll do a round of proof, quick round of proofing. We should be able to get this to the printers by Wednesday at the absolute latest, and we should be able to mail, beginning of the following week, 25th.
Is that enough time though?
Um,
You have to mail it by the weekend?
what did you-
Our target date was to mail by next Friday.
Yes,
That's what it
sorry,
really
it was,
was.
yeah.
So as long
Yeah.
as we mail by Friday.
So if we can do a
Correct.
proof by Monday, we should be good to get that out by Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, we already sent out a notice letter. So we've met,
I mean, we have some buffer there, but
Yeah.
I think our goal would be ideal to stick with mailing by the weekend, by next weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Especially for the people down below, it takes, well, very often 4 to 5 days to get something in.
And then the next bar is the president is to officially name the talents committee. We've already talked to Wayne and Rhonda Romance, and they are willing to accept those duties, so if that's okay with you.
Yes.
President.
Okay?
Yep.
So we can move on to the treasury report with Ronnie?
Okay, so if we look at the first slide, last month we talked about there was gonna be some adjustments for 2023, so the first 2 slides are gonna review that, then we're gonna go into January. So if we look at the side, it says December 2023 adjusted preliminary results. The total revenues changed to 2,782,619. Total expenses changed to 2,080,361. So we have a net loss of 197,742. So the year-end reconciliations, we had a negative 7,088. We had a year-end reconciliation for software for 10,320. So our adjusted net income was a loss of 194,510. So some of the key results, the year-end reconciliations, expenses posted in the capital accounts, which during the year-end review were determined to be operation expenses. That was the 7,088. And expenses posted to the operations accounts, which during the year-end review were determined to be capital expenses, 10,320. So the next screen, December 2023 adjusted preliminary results. We had a net loss of 197,742. We had an adjusted net loss of 194,510. The budget expectation was 209,343. Performance to budget was 14,833. Adjustment for unused minimum wage was a negative 63,500. Adjustment for dues income was 21,200. So at the end of the year, the adjusted performance to budget was a negative 27,467. So now we're going to go to January's report. And last month I asked for feedback. So we incorporated some of the feedback we got. So if you look at the slide, it looks a little different. We do have more information on the side now, so hopefully it's easier to understand. This is the work in process. I want to thank Greg and the Finance Committee for their assistance with this. So, if you have more comments, again, this is something I want to make sure the directors understand, the members understand. So as we look at some of the changes that we made, we can talk through those. So if we look at the member activities for January of 2024, we're 56,398. Our dues were 91,593. Cost of goods, 15,504. Other expenses, 85,541. And wages and benefits, 95,201. So if we look at the side, the January 2024 results summary. Total revenues were 147,991. Total expenses, 195,746. So we had a net income loss of 48,255. Our budget loss was 57,833, and the variance was a positive $9,578. The prior year income loss was 44,219. The variance was unfavorable. It was 4,036. So as we look at some of the key results, revenues were less than budgeted expectations and compared to prior year. And I think Ian talked a little bit about the revenue we generated in the food and beverage. We had a strong NFL game attendance. We know that went very well. A lot of people attended it. We were down in our hosted events, no bourbon and cigar tasting this year, and fewer than expected preserve shoots. Timing on storage billing shows favorable this month. However, timing will offset for storage billings next month. Expenses were under budget expectations and compared to the prior year, reduced hours of operation and staff vacancies in housekeeping, maintenance, and front desk. So I just want to stop there for a minute. Does this make it easier for you to understand having those explanations on the side? Does that help? Okay, again, I'm looking for feedback. So if that makes a difference, before I just had a box. So as we look at this, if it makes it easier, if there's other suggestions, I know, Greg, you're on the line with this, aren't you?
Hi, Ronnie. Yes, I am.
Okay, so Greg, I'm counting on you to take notes if they'd like to see any changes.
No problem, Ronnie. Happy to help.
We have to give you something to do. Okay, so the next one is year to date, and it's going to be exactly the same as the previous because we're looking at January. Numbers are going to look the same. The key results, the net income loss, we are starting the year with 9578 ahead of budget expectations. And again, there's going to be a significant timing consideration. One of the member billing items will offset the result of this moving ahead. So we know that the storage is going to come, and it's just a timing issue right now. If we look at the P&L, we can see that our budget net loss was 57,833. So we know we projected a deficit. So it should have been a negative 57,833. The actual was a loss of 48,255.
Next slide, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
I am on the next one.
No,
Next one.
One more.
That one it was the same as the first one. So our variance to budget was a positive 9579. Okay, so we're continuing with the capital projects. We decided to simplify this. So we have comments that are off to the side, but I know last year was very, very hard to read this. So we decided we're gonna just keep it where it's what the budget amount was, what the status is. When the project's completed, we're gonna put the cost in at that point, and then what the variance is. So instead of adding money in as things get paid, it was getting a little bit complicated. So to simplify it, we're gonna do this. If you look at the chart, so the very top part is the bar 2024, the carryover 2023 projects. We listed those. If it's green, you can see it's working, the status, new quotes pending, awaiting management, bill date, and not started. The second part is the bar for 2024, the 2024 projects. So what we're gonna do now is really tell you, like, if it's a project, we're gonna tell you what the target date is to start. We know equipment, if we're purchasing equipment, we have no idea when that equipment's gonna become available. So we're gonna try to give you more information on what the target date is. Are we working on it? Is it not started? If you go to the last page, so.
Ronnie, on this one,
Yeah.
relative to input in that, I think it would be quicker reading if rather than color coding the project name, You color coded the box underneath status.
Okay, so color code the status box?
Yeah, I think it'd be
Okay,
easier.
would that make it easier for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
like
Greg,
that.
can we take a note on that?
Got that?
We'll carry that color coding across.
I don't think you have to color it code. I think the capital project's all just black and white, like you got it.
Yeah.
And then just do the green or yellow or red in the status box to
Oh,
go with the
okay.
wording.
Okay, so we're gonna reverse that.
Ronnie, can I make one more?
Uh-huh.
If it's, something where you're not sure what the actual date is, if you just put like expected Q2, Q3, Q4, so that we know that it actually
Okay.
is coming this year.
Okay, so again, we can do that for projects that we're doing. When it
Right.
comes to equipment,
Yep.
it's a little hard to say when that equipment's gonna become available, what the price is right and everything. So good points taken.
So you're saying, if I get that right, what you're saying is the fourth one down, Lodge to Beach Walkway says not started, you'd like it to say not started Q2.
No, not started is not started. I'm saying like for the equipment you're purchasing,
Well,
like anticipated by
okay,
Q3.
okay.
Like, it's still just a slippery slope, but it's
Yeah.
in anticipation.
So
Dawn,
that's a-
Dawn, as Jimmy and I go through the details here, and prepare the information on this slide specifically, where we can forecast ahead, we try to and do. A good example, though, is the third item. It's unusual that we don't have a manufacturer delivery date commitment at all for a carryover mower at the golf course that we actually posted the purchase order to last year. There's some huge turnaround issues in that particular equipment space, different than the mainstream, and therefore the best we could say is awaiting the manufacturer's build date on that one. And the point is, where we can put a quarter ahead, second quarter, third quarter, a forecast of some kind, be assured we'll try and telegraph that in the course of the status information that's there.
And you have that as it goes down,
Yeah. Okay.
target June 1st, target March 15th.
I think the other one, Greg, is on the Lodge to Beach Walkway. We actually did complete the survey work on that last year. So in a way, that project is started.
Yeah, because we did something on it.
Technically, yeah.
So probably, so it looks like we did something.
That one specifically is outlined to the architectural designs. So the project is started, but the architectural designs have not.
I don't know how you capture it, but
Good comment, Brian, thanks.
Again, this is a work in process, so I really want to get feedback so we can get this right.
Yep.
Okay, so we go to the next page, we can see 2024 3-lot renovation. So we have those items. And then for bar 2024, so one of the suggestions came up was having the bars in here. Michelle from the Finance and Audit Committee said, "Could we have the bars listed?" So here you see the bars that were approved last month. So we have the cost scope increase. We have the additional capital request for the lodge furniture. So we're gonna see all the bars in here, and again, what the targeted start date is and where we're at in the status. So we have a placeholder for future bars. You can see we have late add-ons for April, July, September, November, and then we have our total budget here. So if we scroll down, we can see, and it tells the status. So if you scroll down a little bit, it gives the total budget, and then it'll talk about what the codes are. So any other feedback on the capital projects? Does that make sense? Okay, so we go to the membership.
Before we move on to finance, just a general question.
Uh-huh.
So as you're putting these together, Ryan, for both operations and capital budgets, where there's a variance and we continue to see a variance month to month, where do we get information about kind of what the plans are to recoup so that we're not just rolling expenses or variances, whether it's capital or operational?
So
what's the course correction? What are we looking at, or what's coming before the board?
So the one thing we do every month, and I think that, Greg, we can attach that slide in here about variances.
So the explanations on the bar charts at the top of the deck here from Ronnie are trying to provide, I'll say, the first layer of the onion. The feedback and the input that drives the selection of the most significant items to reference on the PowerPoint slide come from a tool that Larry and Ian are interactively reviewing. We have a target date that releases financials this year on the 14th of the month. We have a approximate 3-day working window for Ronnie and Larry, Ian and me as the representative from finance and audit, helping that review cycle where we're not just looking to in the rearview mirror of where the variances are, but what's the go forward corrective actions that come with those. And it's that set of comment text that's in a variance report spreadsheet that gets circulated initially to the 4 of us and then outward to the board. And the content from that spreadsheet gets, I'll say, synthesized down to the simplest and biggest chunks of the story that get added to the PowerPoint slide. As we refine and confirm the confidence that we have in that reporting method, I'm expecting we'll figure out other places that same information should be used, like for instance, in the 4-box charts, but it's a work in process and we're not ready to make formal commitments, implementation commitments on that yet. This is a big area where we're making some big strides forward operationally that we should all feel confident about.
They actually already done January, but we just gotta tweak it some more
Yeah, no,
yet.
I appreciate the formality and the process. I really just wanted to know how you were gonna put it so that we could see it.
Oh, we're gonna show it, yeah.
So, yeah, that was.
We're gonna show it monthly on the screen.
Yes, okay. Because it's not there yet, right? You're right, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, so if we go to the next slide on membership, we can see January 2024, we gained 6 members, we lost 4 members, we have a net gain of 2 members. January 2024, we gained 3 multiples, lost 5, surrendered 1. We have a net loss of 3 multiples. Year to date, gained 6 members, the numbers are gonna be the same, lost 4. We have a net gain of 2, gained 3 multiples, lost 5, surrendered 1, a net loss of 3. The membership stats for January 2024, we have full memberships, 861, multiple memberships, 73, legacy membership, 7, extended family, 10, and approved applicants, 5. So as we move with the social memberships, we're gonna add that line. So someone had asked, how are we gonna know where we're at? We're gonna see it here. On the side, we had a box that we're gonna try to see if we can see what numbers are in the pipeline. So we're looking at, trying to add that, and we're working on that so we can get that update. If we go to the next page, so one of the things that came up was, can we do a bar graph? So if you think last year, it was very busy. You had to look at all these numbers. Does this make it easier to see?
Yeah.
So instead of doing monthly, what we're gonna do is year to date, because the numbers fluctuate every month. It could be one off, a couple off. So you're gonna see that in January 2023, we had 864. January of 2024, we had 861. The next month, I'm just gonna show year to date, so I'm not gonna break it down month to month. I wanna clean this up and just make it easier for everyone to see. And I think a visual like this is much easier to understand than seeing a bunch of numbers. So any thoughts on this page? Do you like it?
Yeah.
No, I think having the visual with the bar chart, Ronnie, helps a lot because it clearly indicates that the rate of membership loss has been consistently going down, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, it really slowed down. So, and we have a great start to this year. So that's gonna be the.
Merit question.
Uh-huh.
Do we do an exit interview when someone leaves?
They did.
Yes.
Okay.
So the next part is called backup, but for this first meeting, I just want to go through this. So these are things you can look at. We're not going to look at it every month. It's something that when it's posted, you can see this. So the first thing is we have, and we're trying to work on this to make it a little bit easier to read. This one's very hard to see. There's a lot of verbiage at the bottom. We are trying to see if we could make the bar graph easier. So this is the net income variance to budget by department. So previously, we saw it by different groupings, membership activities. This is by department. We see the line in the middle, everything above the line says that we're over budget. And below it, we can see we're under budget. So you can see it says format being revised. So hopefully by next month, we come up with an easier way to see this.
I think, Ronnie, myself personally, I think this is a great compliment to the larger bar chart that was up front, because up front, we've got the variances by function on it. Having the variance by department up front, I think it is a perfect complement up there, because we, like last year, we got continuous questions relative to the various departments, and this makes it very visible, very quick.
Okay. So yeah, we'll
At least for me personally.
okay. So we are looking at cleaning it up to make the bars wider and make it easier to understand. If we go to the next one, it's going to be the same thing. It's year to date. So again, for this month, it's gonna look the same because everything's the same. And again, we're looking at revising this format. If we go to the next page, so we continue the trending. Now, this is something I look close at. And it's really when you look at where we started, so you can see the black circle is January. So I always like to see, are we trending? You know, are we trending in the same place? So we can see member activities. We were up 8,000 for last January. We can see where the black dot, it's a little bit higher than it was in previous years. So right now we're capturing 2015 to 2024. So as the year progresses, we'll see the black line. We go to the next one. Monthly wages and benefits. Again, we're pretty much in line. So I look for any anomalies where it really is different. If we go to the next one. So monthly cost of goods. So Ian, and I don't know if you're going to be prepared, but as I look at this, I mean, last month was a little bit higher. The start of this year was higher than previous years. So this is what I look at. Lee and I will have a discussion to say, okay, what's different? What changed? So these graphs are important to me to see if the trending's online or is it something that we should talk about? So Ian, if you look at cost of goods, is there anything that you can say about why the cost of goods is higher in this January?
They shouldn't be, and we're still drilling down on these numbers, right now as we speak. And the cost of goods goes beyond just what your purchases are. It obviously is actually what you consumed out of your inventory as well. And these numbers are not right. So we're trying to work out where the error is right now. Part of it we've identified, the inventory worksheet that has been used, the pricing has not been updated on that one in a couple of months. That's resulted in $1,000 difference already that we found. The next part of it is timing of when invoices hit the system as to when the counts were done, that we're working through. So Amy, our food and beverage manager, is all over this right now, and she's feeding information back to me. I'm going to free up some time in the next week to actually do a deeper dive with her on them. But those numbers there's just no way those numbers are correct. I know that, just by looking at them and the historical trend that we've had since I've been here. So, so there will be an adjustment at some point. I just don't know how much it will be.
So that's why these conversations are important to kind of understand what's happening. A lot of times it can be timing. Sometimes it's something that needs to be moved, but it triggers, okay, let's look closer at this. So these are the conversations as the treasurer I have with the manager every month to say, let's go through this. And Ian, I know we talked a lot about the next slide. It was monthly expenses. So if we look at that black dot, it's exactly where we were last year. So it trended high from previous years, but it's right in line with last year. And I know, Ian, we talked a lot about maintenance work that was done early on. So I'm going to turn it over to you to maybe walk us through some of the monthly expenses.
Yeah, and again, it's difficult after only 1 or 2 months to actually see a true trend. The bulk of this is timing of when we paid for stuff this year compared to prior years. We've been a little bit ahead of the curve in some aspects, taking care of invoices quicker than in prior years, which is good overall, but it is creating some anomalies in that brief window snap.
Just pull it up a little bit.
There, as we talked about in January, there were some unforeseen expenses. We had mechanical failure on the not the grade, what's the grade? The backhoe. On the backhoe. That required about $6,000 in unplanned expenses, which has bumped that number up significantly in January. But again, like I said, it is when we build the budget, we use prior years to create the wave, so to speak. And if we end up doing the work quicker than prior years, then it's going to show a little bump. But you'll see that even out. And what my job is and Jim's job is, we look at what our year-end budget is, and to be sure that we are still on target to make that year end. I will go back, because I'm drilling down on the food cost. I'm looking at some numbers in our budget columns and our financials that don't appear right to me. And I need to be sure that the finance director has pulled and mapped it correctly, to make sure that we don't have any anomalies that is throwing this off. The actual data is correct, but the budget numbers I'm looking at, some of it is not as it should be. So we're looking at that as well right now.
Okay, thank you. So the next one, the dues, and the dues are pretty much, we can, you know, pretty much, we know they lost some numbers, so the dues are under a little bit. Nothing really jumps out there. We look at the P and L, and we, as we said earlier, we are down 48,255. We're actually down 4,036 from January 2023. So, you know, as you can see, there's a lot that goes into the treasurer's report, a lot of conversations. We've got, you know, Greg and the finance and audit team drilling into the, you know, all of us drilling into variances, having conversations. We want to make sure the numbers are accurate and making sure that if there's any errors or things are posted incorrectly. And one of the biggest things is timing. The timing of invoices could be one day off. So there's a lot that goes into it. And we want to give you the best information we can. So, you know, when you look at this report, is there any other things that you're not seeing in the treasurer's report that would be important to you? Or any suggestions? Larry?
The variance report starting next month.
I knew it, I thought
Yeah.
that was, yeah, that.
Yep.
So, as Larry said, we have the variance report that will be included. And I think that's one of the real important things, because sometimes there's the anomalies, like I think Ian, we talked, because of the snowstorm, we use more gas. So, you know, sometimes you can't predict what the month's gonna be. And so Ian provides an explanation on why we're off in those, you know, the budgets. And I think that's very valuable.
The key thing is though, not just to provide the reason we're
Yes.
off. It's the action to get back on. That's the key.
Yes.
My only other, and just something I know we talked about relative to social membership was membership spend.
Mhm.
And I don't know what that would be within, or if it belongs within this report, but I thought it was just eye-opening when you look at our membership spend. And, you know, when we talked about the social members minimum spend at $1,200 and that 68-70% of our membership spends less than that. And that's like one of our underlying issues, in my opinion, is that we're not getting the membership spend from our own members. And I don't know if that belongs in here or what that would be, average member spend, you know, but I think it's something as a membership we need to talk about. You're a member, use the club.
There's a couple of good ways that we've processed that data in the past, and that can be very informative graphically on it. I'll try to dig out one of those reports and provide it to Ronnie and Greg.
So
the
you-
Finance Committee.
So do
Maybe
you
take
think
that
that's-
offline and talk about it, and maybe there's a thought that comes back. but-
I think that's an important thing to let our membership know every month.
It's huge.
Is, you know, we have 860 members and basically the average spend is.
10% or
X or whatever.
30%, 1,010, and the rest are, you know,
Whatever.
4% are spending.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, most other membership clubs, you know, they require a minimum to spend a quarter or per annum. Yeah, we have a reverse minimum here where we actually give you a credit back on your dues.
Change something.
So, and again, it's, you know, that's a bigger discussion, but, that would be one way to ensure that you get more revenue. If they don't spend it, they still get billed.
Right.
So Ian, is that something we could work on and see if we could add a slide with members, spend?
Yeah, we can.
Even if it's quarterly, maybe it's not monthly, but
Yeah, we
I
can-
think if that's information, that'd be good to share. So again, we'll have some add-ons. It's a work in process. You know, you may see changes from month to month, but, you know, please give me feedback if there's anything else you'd like. So with that, Larry, I'm turning it back to you.
All right. So next is the manager's report. Ian, do you have anything?
I'll keep it fairly brief. We've covered a lot of our activities over the last couple of sessions here. I did want to remind everybody that we are moving into our hiring season for employees. So again, if you know of people that are looking for work, or you have a work location where you can post that we're looking for work, please let us know. Because we will be ramping up very quickly, and we want to interview as many people as possible and get the best that's available out there. The other thing, tying back to the capital budget, we did this week purchase a new security truck that is now here. The Colorado has been traded in.
11,000 miles.
On the new one, yes. Yeah, we got a very good, it's a 2020 Ford Ranger, with only 11,000 miles on it, and it came in under our budget.
And being that it's a Ranger, we know it'll last a long time.
Well, you know.
I don't know, I got
My
400,000.
It's my first boss isn't here now, so I will talk about it. When I first came here, I was told I could only buy Chevys.
Oh,
That
I
was
like that
it.
guy
Yeah,
already.
so- And then.
See how fast we fix that?
Well, and then when he found out that I'm not a car person, he said, because the problem is Ford uses different tools, so we can't use our tool sets on the. So that was the explanation, and I said, okay, fine. So yeah, that's really it, quick update.
Okay, and I really don't have anything more to add, other than to update the team that, my intent was to come into this meeting today with the explanation behind the 1.4 million to 6 million walk of what happened throughout that time frame. We're close to having it completed. We'll be doing that next meeting, along with the long-term status viability of the club. Those two reports are gonna be forthcoming quickly here. Other than that, any more discussion we need?
can I just add one thing?
Sure.
We hope to see everyone at trivia night tonight. I'm excited about that, and we are having a representation from the board there.
Larry, I have two things, very, very quickly. One, I have about 3 people that have volunteered for nominations. I think we need 6.
For the nomination committee?
Nominations committee, yep, I've had 3 sign up so far. We need 6. I know we're supposed to have this done by March, so I'll reach out to the rest of the board and let them know when that's effective. On March 25th, Ian's graciously allowed us to donate some birds and have an employee hunt. I could use some help with some people. We're basically supplying everything. And we're gonna gather for a breakfast and have a lunch and allow our employees to kind of take a look at what we do out there and have a free day of it. I do need some help. I'd like to have some help.
What's the date on that?
March 25th, Monday, they want to do it on a Monday, and I just, we're supplying,
It's on.
Oh, Monday?
huh?
So weekday?
Weekday, Monday.
Oh.
We
I
targeted
can't
the
do
Monday
it.
because that's our
Your close day.
lowest
Yeah.
operational day as far as the.
Well,
Shells,
I can
guns,
do it if it's on a weekend.
that
but I
stuff will be
can't.
provided, and I'm looking for anybody that is able to help. I've got quite a few, but anybody that's able to help and come out and, kind of help participate with some folks that aren't quite familiar with handling guns or whatever. We want to make sure that we're safe and what we're doing, and I'm trying to get some volunteers, and I know we can assess that. And I'm looking forward to having a good time with their help. And anybody, like I said, that would like to come and help is more than welcome.
Okay. As we know, the Board of Directors executive session will be starting in 15 minutes following the time we adjourn this one. And then we have the Board of Directors regular meeting on April 13th coming up, and the executive session also on April 13th. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Joe, you don't call me.
Yeah.
I don't.
Goodbye.